Pepsi Prebiotic Cola in original and cherry vanilla. That Pepsi taste you love with no artificial sweeteners and 3 grams of prebiotic fiber. Pepsi Prebiotic Cola. Unbelievably Pepsi.
Sid and Friends in the morning.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Entertaining and informative.
This is Sid and Friends in the morning.
77 WABC.
Friends.
I'm sorry, Sid. Hi.
Oh, God, don't be sorry. You kidding me?
No, I'm wrapped up in these meetings on peace. And I said, it's between peace and Sid Rosenberg. And I said, let's take Rosenberg, okay? So
people despised Rush Limbaugh. They hated his guts. President Trump, Bibi, we'll go on and on, okay? So it doesn't bother me. I don't like character attacks. That's the only issue. When they start getting personal, Mark, they talk about some of my demons or issues, or God forbid, it hasn't happened often. They mention your family. Then I go crazy. But in terms of knocking me or the job that I do, that's fuel. I need that. It's like Trump. People think Trump gets upset. He doesn't get upset. He loves it. That's his fuel. He likes that more, believe it or not, than guys sucking up to him. Same thing with us. It's part of the business. If they don't hate you, you're not succeeding.
Now what we're learning tonight about the suspect, a teacher and computer programmer. The alleged gunman was captured on surveillance video sprinting toward a Secret Service checkpoint. The writings the Caltech grad allegedly left behind in his hotel room. Here's ABC's Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas.
We're learning more about the man investigators believe opened fire near that ballroom with the president inside. Authorities say this is Cole Allen, seen here lying on the ground shirtless. They believe Allen is the heavily armed suspect racing past security before the Secret Service took him down.
He was armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives.
And law enforcement sources say they're learning more disturbing new details about the suspect's alleged motive and willingness to kill as many people as possible to get to his intended targets. Trump administration officials.
It is clear, based upon what we know so far, that this individual was intent on doing as much harm and as much damage as he could.
Sources describing a message Cole Allen allegedly sent to his family before the attack. The message describes grievances against Trump administration officials, expressing a willingness to kill from the highest ranking to the lowest, including any Secret Service members that got in his way. The alleged message ends with a critique of hotel security and how his plan to check into the hotel allowed him to have weapons in the building without anyone knowing. And sources say it included a reference to himself as Cole, friendly federal assassin Allen. The FBI and Secret Service launching a nationwide investigation. Within hours, FBI agents and a SWAT team was at the Allen family home in Torrance, California.
We believe that he traveled by train from Los Angeles to Chicago and then Chicago to Washington, D.C.
Allen got an engineering degree from Caltech in 2017 and went on to get a master's from Cal State last year. This interview appears to be the suspect in college showing an emergency brake he built for a wheelchair.
The wheelchair brakes tend to lock the wheels, but don't actually lock the chair to the ground. The idea with this is to prevent it from moving at all.
More recently, Allen has been working as a tutor, even once winning an award for Teacher of the Month. Allen is expected to face gun charges, including assaulting a federal officer with a deadly weapon. He's set to make his first court appearance.
Thank you, President Trump. There's a report in the New York Post that this assailant assembled his weapon somewhere on site at the hotel. What do you think about that? And I ask respectfully, why do you think this keeps happening to you?
Well, you know, I've studied assassinations, and I must tell you, the most impactful people, the people that do the most, you take a look at the people, Abraham Lincoln, I mean, you go through the people that have gone through this where they got them, but the people that do the most, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much because they like it that way. And when you look at the people that have either, whether it was an attempt or a successful attempt, they're very impactful people. Just take a look at the names here, the big names. And I hate to say I'm honored by that, but I've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've taken this country, and we were a laughingstock for years, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We've changed this country, and there are a lot of people that are not happy about that. So I think that's the answer, Peter.
The so-called manifesto is a stunning thing to read, Mr. President. He appears to reference a motive in it. He writes this, quote, administration officials, they are targets. And he also wrote this, I'm no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people, horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
Do you think he was referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person. I got associated with all stuff that has nothing to do with me. I was totally exonerated. Your friends on the other side of the plate are the ones that were involved with, let's say, Epstein or other things. But I said to myself, I'll do this interview, and they'll probably, I read the manifesto, he's a sick person, but you should be ashamed of yourself reading that, because I'm not any of those things.
Mr. President,
and I
these
was
are
never,
the gunman's words.
Excuse me. You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace.
Now to those stalled talks between the U.S. and Iran. President Trump is ruling out any travel to Pakistan for peace negotiations. Let's bring in ABC's senior White House correspondent Selena Wang. Selena, what does this mean for a possible deal?
Well, Lindsay, this is the latest sign that the U.S. and Iran remain far apart on a deal to reach an end to this war. The president abruptly canceling his top negotiator's planned trip to Pakistan this weekend and is now ruling out any in-person talks in the near future. President Trump is now claiming that Iran can call on secure telephone lines if they want to talk. But Iran has made it clear that they won't negotiate until the U.S. ends its blockade of Iranian ports. And the president says that blockade won't end until there's a deal. So there's no clear path for when or if those talks resume. Meanwhile, the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, and here at home, gas prices are now averaging about $4 a gallon, up more than $1 since the war began, Lindsay.
Still a standstill. Selena, thank you.
The man convicted in the death of NYPD detective Jonathan Diller is expected to be sentenced. A jury found Guy Rivera guilty of aggravated manslaughter earlier this month while acquitting him of murder. Prosecutors said Rivera intentionally shot Diller during a 2024 traffic stop in Queens, while the defense argued the gun was accidentally discharged. Rivera was also found guilty of attempted murder for trying to shoot an NYPD sergeant at the scene. Rivera faces up to 90 years in prison.
Security is looming large as King Charles and the Queen head to the White House. Let's bring in ABC's chief international correspondent, James Longman. James, what's the latest on this trip?
Hi, Lindsay. Well, the palace issued a statement saying the King was greatly relieved that the President, the First Lady, and all those guests were unharmed, and that after discussions on both sides of the Atlantic, it was decided that the trip will still go ahead. This is intended to celebrate 250 years of American independence. The King and Queen are due to arrive here in D.C. for an informal tea at the White House on Tuesday. That is the main event. The King will address both houses of Congress, and then there'll be a state dinner at the White House hosted by Donald Trump. Charles and Camilla will go to New York, where they'll visit the 9/11 memorial. Diplomatic relations between Britain and the United States have been strained over the war in Iran. It was hoped Charles would help calm those problems. Now it will feel like a timely visit from a close ally during a troubled moment.
Yeah, if I was king for just one day, King Charles has been king for a heck of a lot more than just one day, but the king himself and his wife, the Queen, Camilla, I think her name is, she can haunt the Four family house. But they're on their way to America, on their way to Washington, D.C. to see President Trump. They will have tea, I guess, at some point today. You heard the schedule there in the open. Tomorrow they will, well, actually, King Charles tomorrow is going to speak to both chambers of Congress. King Charles will speak to both the House and the Senate. And then eventually, late tomorrow night, there'll be a state dinner in Washington, D.C. And then after all of that, with the president in D.C., King Charles and the Queen will make their way to New York City. We're going to have them right here. I guess that's Wednesday. So that'll be a security and traffic nightmare because King Charles is actually heading to the 9/11 memorial in anticipation, of course, of the 25-year commemoration of 9/11 coming up this September. If you haven't seen this piece of news, it came out last week, that not only are the King and Queen coming to New York this Wednesday to go to the 9/11 museum, but they're actually coming back on 9/11, and King Charles plans on going down to that holy site. You ready for this? With Mayor Mamdani. Did you see that last week, Noam?
Yeah, that's who's going to show him around on Wednesday.
Yes. Oh, is that right, too?
Yeah.
Even this Wednesday?
Yes, he'll be with him.
So Mamdani is actually going to the 9/11 museum this Wednesday?
That's what's on the schedule right now.
I'm going to say this right now. If you're friendly with Mamdani, I want no part of you. I really don't. I want no part of you. If you have nice things to say about Mamdani, don't say them here. The best way to make sure that Sid Rosenberg won't like you, maybe you don't care, that's fine. But if you do care, and many of you do, despite what you say nice things about Mamdani. Tell me you're giving him a chance. Tell me you like him. Do all that type of stuff. You think I care that he sent out some nonsense tweet about President Trump yesterday? You think I care? AOC did the same thing. So did Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and all the people who spend their days and nights spewing rhetoric that has nearly gotten my friend killed 3 times. Do you think I care what Mamdani said on Twitter yesterday, or the fact that the president is nice to him in the Oval Office? Mamdani is a lowlife. That's what he is. How do I know that? Look at his friends. Mark Levin actually tweeted this last night, the great one himself. I think he's going to join me this week. I love Mark. Sometimes you can tell who a person is by who their friends are. And you know, of course, that one of Mamdani's best friends is Hassan Piker. You've heard of him, right? Here's a little short montage of some of the things that Hassan Piker has had to say over the last couple of years. And the very first quote he makes, he talks about 9/11. Just think about this. Mamdani, I didn't know that, is going to take the King and Queen to the museum Wednesday. Mamdani's going to sit with the King and Queen on 9/11. Mamdani loves Hassan Piker. He defends him at every opportunity, like he does Nurdin and Mahmoud Khalil. And here is what Hassan Piker had to say in the not-so-distant past. Lewis, cut number 5.
This is so insane. America deserved 9/11, dude. I'm saying it.
I don't have any sort of patriotism in my heart for any, for America, but just in general.
It doesn't matter if rapes happened on October 7th. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much.
Doesn't matter if rapes happened on October 7th. That doesn't change the dynamic. But look how we started. And we know about this already because Mamdani was sitting right there and provided zero pushback. America deserved 9/11. So what is this mayor doing with King Charles down at that sacred site on Wednesday, and, of course, coming up on 9/11? You know, Friday night, we'll get to the president, obviously, in a moment here. Friday night, I did not have the chance to go to the Metropolitan Republican Club's annual gala. Lovely event. I want to congratulate Krisha Lenzo and all the fine people there. They honor me all the time. They do a great job. And they honored me this Friday. I couldn't make it, but they gave out the same award to me and my friend Alan Dershowitz. It's called the America First Ally Award, and it went to me and Dershowitz for our steadfast support of the United States-Israel alliance. It was a beautiful night. They also honored Emily Austin, Vicky Palladino, Randy Fine, to name a few. But the big honoree that night was Rudy Giuliani. Mayor Rudy was here on Friday night in New York City getting this great honor, which he deserves. You think about Rudy Giuliani getting an award on Friday here in New York City, and Mamdani going to be with the King and Queen Wednesday and on 9/11 at that sacred site. And if that doesn't make you nauseous as an American, nothing ever will. Is that exaggerated, Noam, or accurate?
No. I mean, it's the last guy you want him
The last guy. The last guy. You heard Hassan Piker. That's one of his best friends. He's never denied it, never tried to distance himself from Hassan Piker. America deserved 9/11. And you can bet your ass, if Mamdani wasn't mayor and didn't have that obligation to come off as a decent human being, he couldn't care less that they tried to kill my friend again on Saturday night. I really believe that. Couldn't care less. But they did. White House Correspondents' dinner at the Washington Hilton. That was the same hotel where Ronald Reagan was shot. Did you know that, Noam?
I did.
Yeah.
1981.
81, that's where Hinckley shot Ronald Reagan, and here was the president, and over 2,000 guests, I believe 2,100 people were stuffed into that room at the Hilton on Saturday night when Cole Allen, a 31-year-old psycho, but a brilliant guy, went to a very good college, ended up getting his master's degree, actually won Teacher of the Month, I believe back in December. You know, you look at all these people that have tried to kill the president and others, and not all of them are these, disassociated folks, no future, no hope. Some of these people, like the president talked about yesterday, are actually very bright, and they've got a lot to live for, and they throw it all away. They throw it all away because the best thing that was going to happen to Cole Allen on Saturday was he be killed. The worst thing is what happened, which is they caught him. The odds of him making it through that room into the ballroom doors and actually shooting the president or anybody else in the president's administration were slim to none. Now, a lot of people are very upset. I watched Rachel Campos all morning yesterday. I watched Lawrence Jones. We're going to talk to Brian Kilmeade this hour. He was in that room on Saturday. We're going to talk to the tactical police guy, Paul Morrow, in this hour. A lot of folks are very upset the gunman made it that far. How does this guy get into that hotel where, by the way, there's thousands and thousands of rooms and people? You can't have every room like Campos was talking about yesterday looked at and snipped. But regardless, how does that guy make it to the hotel carrying weapons and then somehow get down on the same floor as President Trump? He was not near the president. He was in a different room, completely different room. But how does he get there with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives? A lot of people ask that question. But I will tell you this. I texted President Trump at exactly 7:19 a.m. yesterday morning. And here's what I wrote. I'm glad you're okay, but sad and sickened that you continue to go through this. So sorry. But the majority of us love and appreciate you. Bottom line, stay strong, my friend. That was the text I sent to President Trump at exactly 7:19 a.m. yesterday, with no real expectation that the morning after he was nearly assassinated again, maybe nearly is not the right word, but at any rate, the moment after all that chaos on Saturday night, he'd get back to me at any point. But he did at 7:22, literally 3 minutes, Noam, after I texted him. And President Trump responded like he does. Thanks, Sid. A rough evening with 3 exclamation points. Secret Service did a great job, President DJT.
Okay, so how does that compare? And I know we're talking about something very serious here, but how does that compare to the other texts when you've texted him before? What was the turnaround time when he got back to you?
Usually pretty quick.
But 3 minutes is really, I mean,
That's
he
really
was like
quick.
looking at his phone.
I mean,
he saw your text come in.
He sent me a happy Easter text. That was the last time we spoke. He did send me a happy New Year text on New Year's Eve day. He sends me stuff that's usually celebratory.
Right.
I didn't expect him to get back to me with this one because for every 10 texts that I send President Trump, I do not receive a text back. which is still pretty good. You talk to people who text the president all the time. I'm not talking about members of his cabinet. Obviously, if Marco Rubio or J.D. Vance text the president, he's going to get right back to them. But you talk about his own kids, Eric and Lara and Donald, doesn't get back to them right away. Almost never. So I can't complain. 3 minutes on this Sunday morning after what happened the night before, I was blown away. And, God, I didn't even know what to say. You look, again, thanks, Sid, a rough evening. Secret Service did a great job. And he always signs his text with President DJT. But it was interesting because he texted me, Secret Service did a great job. After he texted me, that's when I put on Fox News, and I'm watching Rachel Campos and Lawrence Jones and all these folks going nuts about how Secret Service did not do a great job and that this guy got a little too close for their comfort. What did you think, Noam?
Well, I don't think it serves the president well to go on the attack against the people who protect him every day. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But
but he did do that in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But he was right about that. He was right about that. I mean, the poor Corey Campitori, his family, they still want answers. Quite frankly, so does President Trump. So it's not like he is not capable of being critical of his own people. He was critical, and deservedly so, back in Butler, Pennsylvania. But he really felt like Saturday night they did a good job.
Well, they did a good job because this guy didn't get in there. And they're not Supermen. Let's point that out, right? They're not Supermen. They can't know someone's motives before they run down a flight of stairs. But it does, if all this story is true, that he ran down a flight of stairs in the hotel from like 10 stories up and then was able to push through a door. And then you saw him in that now video that everybody's seen running across that barrier. It is frightening. I mean, he was running awfully fast. He was armed with a couple knives, a couple guns. He could have done a lot of damage just to all the people who were protecting the president and then think what might have happened after that. So I think if you don't study it and say, hey, how did he get so close, then you're not asking a lot of questions that you should be asking.
Yeah, that's fine. You can ask the questions. You think President Trump texted Curtis?
No, I don't
think so. The weekly ratings came out on Friday.
Oh, how were they?
Oh, my God.
What were they?
3 consecutive weeks. That station hasn't moved in the mornings. 2.2. We went up to a 5.1.
Wow.
We are 2.5 times the audience. Remember him saying, Sid's reign at number 1 will be over soon, and he's made no difference. Went from a 1.9 to a 2.2. No difference. 0. No one cares. And we keep going up. I beat him like he got beat in the election. I actually tweeted on Friday, man, these ratings every week are akin to the election numbers. Remember how big-mouthed he was when he started working there 2 months ago? Sid's done, it's over, all he does is talk about the Jews. Really? Did you get a text from President Trump the night after he was almost assassinated? I don't think so. You're with some old guy in a studio with no guests, no yucks, no music, no nothing, and no one's listening. Nobody. 0. So go lie all you want. Lie. But you got big ratings and you're stealing advertisers. You haven't taken one. Not one advertiser. Not one. And no one's listening. And no one will. So my recommendation is go out on the street and maybe you can be the mayor's night shift mayor. I saw that last week. Did you see that?
Yeah. It'd be great if he ended up with a 0.7, match the 7%
I'll get there.
Yeah.
There's still a little bit of excitement. He just got there, but who's the real sellout? Who's the real backstabber? Never put a glove on Mamdani, never once. Andrew Cuomo this, Andrew Cuomo that. That's all he did. And now he's up Mamdani's ass like he's doing a proctological exam. That's your guy, folks. That's your guy that you bludgeoned me over for months and months. I was never the sellout. I was never the backstabber. Still not to this day. But come on. Enough already. Enough with that nonsense. No one cared when he ran, and no one cares when he's on the air. That's the bottom line. Sorry. Anyway, what else? Today, this guy's going to be arraigned in federal court. I'm going to talk to Paul Mauro, who's actually on with Donna Rotuno on Fox News right now, coming up after Brian Kilmeade late this hour. Anything else with this story that I need to know, Noam?
Well, yeah, he'll be arraigned a little bit later today. And then just sort of the silly side of this, because now, thank God nobody was hurt. But I don't know if you saw, there was two different videos of people at this dinner. So one of them was like moments after they had raced the president and the vice president off the dais. There's a camera trained, it must have been someone's phone, on a guy who's underneath the table, and he continues to put his fork into the salad and feed himself while he's waiting to be told that he can get in front of the. And then there's another one of a woman who they haven't ID'd yet, but I'm sure in the next couple of hours she will be. As they're being told, these people are being told that they can leave the ballroom, and you can imagine people were excited to get out of there.
Stealing wine, right?
She's stealing bottle after bottle of wine.
Saw that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw all that. That wasn't pretty. That was rich looting, is what they call that. Rich looting, right? You have a whole chaotic scene, and people are walking outside of electronic stores with televisions. Here in this particular ballroom, you can get wine. Rich looting took place on Saturday night. But we will talk to Paul Mauro coming up after Kilmeade in about 25 minutes. Locally, I did see that Ken Griffin decided to cancel his major project at 350 Park Avenue, a $6 billion project that promised up to 15,000 working jobs in New York City, along with restaurants, having to feed all these people, places where these people need to live. The amount of money that would have come to New York was astronomical, but because Mamdani wants to do everything he can to drive out every decent, successful New Yorker, I read at least that Ken Griffin has canceled that. Do we have confirmation on that?
Yeah, I don't think that's official, and I can actually tell you without trying to think if I can tell you the story without giving the person's name away. I was out for dinner over the weekend with somebody who is close to him, works closely with him. With
Griffin?
Yeah. And related just how angry he was about that video that the mayor shot in front of his house. He just thought, why are you poking me when I've given so much back to New York City? So I don't think it's official that it's canceled, but I'll check on that.
Lindsey Boylan is running. She was, I guess, the first of the Andrew Cuomo accusers. Is that right?
I don't know which number she was, because there was a number of them, but yeah, she's one of the most outspoken ones, that's for sure.
So she's running now in District 3.
Yeah, which is like the West Village, Chelsea area.
I guess she's Carl Wilson. This is the special election. Now, what area is that again?
This is usually this is an area that always, for the last 25, 30 years, has always voted in someone who's gay, because it's a big, gay area.
Yeah.
And so you have one candidate who is the gay candidate who is running. She is not. She's straight.
Right.
But that she has the mayor's endorsement, which is big, especially in a liberal district like that. So we could see a real race.
Dennis Hamill's a good buddy of mine. He actually writes for Law and Order these days, but very talented TV writer. And you guys know his brother, Pete Hamill. So Dennis's daughter, Katie Hamill, who worked on the Jim Walden campaign, her and I become friendly, and she keeps sending me text after text after text about all the things that Lindsey Boylan has done. They're not very complimentary. Well, my friend Eliza Licht, who happens to be one of my favorite and only influencers I still speak to these days, she did a little Instagram video, about 85 seconds long, about this Wilson-Lindsey Boylan race, Lewis. This would be Eliza Licht, cut number 8.
Do you want to know what one of our biggest mistakes has been, and we can't keep on making it? We do not pay attention to local races. On Tuesday, April 28th, there is a special election for New York City District 3. Mamdani has endorsed Lindsey Boylan in direct opposition to Julie Menon's endorsement of Carl Wilson. These local races is how the Democratic Socialists of America are getting in, and we cannot let this continue. Maybe you live in New York City District 3, or maybe you have a friend that does. They need to hear this message. We're talking about Chelsea, Hell's Kitchen, Greenwich Village, West Village, and Flatiron. If you are a mainstream Democrat or a Republican who can vote on Tuesday or do early voting now, Carl Wilson is the Democrat you should be voting for. Lindsey Bolin is a new socialist. I just want everyone to know she lives in Chelsea. She has a 5-bedroom home in Bedford, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in New York, and her husband works in finance. So why is she campaigning around with Mamdani and Brad Lander? Opportunity. That is the point. Naturally, part of the script is to be anti-Israel also. Tuesday is the election. Please, if you know anyone who lives in District 3, please tell them Carl Wilson is the person everyone should be voting for.
I have no interest in ever endorsing a Democrat, even in a primary, but Carl Wilson's my guy. I love that guy. So we'll vote for him and stay away from this rat, Lindsey Bolin.
Well, at least he has political experience. He was the chief of staff for Eric Botcher, the guy that won he was the one who was the city council member. He won a state Senate seat. That's why there's a special election tomorrow. But you can at least point to the fact that he has political experience where she does not.
Got it. Any new talks with Iran? I know that,
No.
Thank God, President Trump, maybe he is listening to me, right? I mean, he hasn't lowered the boom just yet. Tomorrow is going to be 3 weeks since that Tuesday night when he decided to extend it one more time. So he hasn't lowered the boom just yet, but he came to the realization that flying all the way to Islamabad, whether it's him or J.D. Vance or Kushner or Witkoff, is a complete waste of time and fuel, jet fuel as well, because the Iranians have no desire, never did, and never will to sit down and really come to any real agreement. The one they did with Barack Obama and John Kerry, they literally went off of that day one, which, of course, Obama knew, but he acted as if he didn't. So it looks like President Trump has gotten the message. The question is, what's next? Any idea, no?
No. And, it was the president who announced that they had canceled the delegation's trip to Pakistan while he was on his way to the White House Correspondents' Dinner aboard Air Force One on Saturday. So that's how we found out that they weren't going. But he said it's really up to them now. He says the phone works. Give me a call, but he's not going to waste sending people to the other side of the planet if nothing's going to get done. And it looks like Iran walked away from these talks. They were talking with leaders in Pakistan, did not like what they were hearing from them. And so they were initially the first ones to call it off, and that's when the president said, okay, well, I'm not sending my people over there if nothing's going to happen.
Bottom line, I want to go back to the president, too, and I played a couple of things in the open. He was asked by Ducey why this keeps happening to him. It's worth replaying again right now, Lou. This is cut number 3. Trump at the White House following the shooting was asked by Peter Ducey, why does this continue to happen to you? Cut number 3.
Thank you, President Trump. There's a report in the New York Post that this assailant assembled his weapon somewhere on site at the hotel. What do you think about that? And I ask respectfully, why do you think this keeps happening to you?
Well, I've studied assassinations, and I must tell you, the most impactful people, the people that do the most, you take a look at the people, Abraham Lincoln, I mean, you go through the people that have gone through this where they got them. But the people that do the most, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much because they like it that way. And when you look at the people that have either, whether it was an attempt or a successful attempt, they're very impactful people. Just take a look at the names there, the big names. And I hate to say I'm honored by that, but I've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've taken this country, and we were a laughing stock for years, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We've changed this country, and there are a lot of people that are not happy about that. So I think that's the answer, Peter.
That is the answer. And then, of course, it is the Democrats. And I want to keep going back to that all morning long. It's really that simple, the rhetoric coming from the Democrats. And, yes, that includes the media. Chris Cuomo, you dickhead. Cuomo's like, what do you mean the media? What did we do? Oh, really, Chris? Oh, really? What did we do? Rachel Maddow, Nazi. Joy Reid, Nazi. Joe and Mika, Nazi. All the douchebags you used to work with at CNN, Nazi. Even you, Chris. Who do you think you're kidding over the years? You and your brother. Come on. Stop with this nonsense. You're damn right it's the media and, of course, the politicians. So everybody came out yesterday with their tweets. Thank God he's okay. Some didn't even say that. Some just said, thank God everyone's okay, because it pains them to actually include the President of the United States. So I purposely went to all these people's Twitter accounts. You can view me yourself. Go to my Twitter at Sid Rosenberg 19, at Sid Rosenberg 19, because I'm the guy. I'm the guy in New York that supports President Trump more than anybody and keeps the Democrats in check more than anybody. That's the bottom line, more than anybody. Nobody does what I do. I'm on Bernie Sanders' account. Oh, shut up. I'm on AOC's account. Oh, shut up. I'm on Chuck Schumer's account. Oh, shut up. I'm on Barack Obama's account. Oh, shut up. I'm on Mayor Mamdani's account. Oh, shut up. I'm on Adam Schiff's account. Oh, shut up. Go take a look. Richie Torres. Oh, shut up. Richie Torres, I love it. All the Jewish people love Richie Torres because he's pro-Israel. In the meantime, he takes a sledgehammer to President Trump and Bibi Netanyahu at every opportunity. He's called President Trump some of the worst things you've ever read. That's Richie Torres, your hero, okay? So I purposely looked all these people up on Twitter yesterday because I knew they'd be lying as if they care. And they were. All of them sent out these disingenuous tweets. They don't care. And how long is it going to last? I know. I was watching Maria Bartiromo yesterday. She said, could this be the turning point now? Will this be the point where Democrats come to their senses? Come on, Maria. You know better than that. We went through the same nonsense in Butler, Pennsylvania. Remember, Joe Biden was still president. He called President Trump, I'm glad you're okay. 2 days after that, Joe Biden was hammering President Trump. And he actually got shot at that one. Although, a lot of these Democrats on social media came out yesterday, including, ready for this, Mia Farrow, actress Mia Farrow, Woody's ex-wife, and said this was all staged. Wasn't real. President Trump staged the whole thing. People still say that about Butler, Pennsylvania. Oh, how's his ear, they said yesterday. How's the president's ear? So there's no turning point. There's no inflection point. Things are not going to change. They lie for a day or two as if they care, and they go right back to the evil scumbags they all are. Democrat politicians, Democrat media, and quite frankly, a lot of the Democrat voters. They are evil scumbags. That's what they are. I want no part of them. I don't want to unite. I don't hope this thing turns this country around. I want to beat these mother effers in every election and make sure that none of these people win and serve in office. They are ruining every city, every state. They are destroying our country. And they are the reason why. There's no other answer. You don't need to look at this like it's some Sherlock Holmes investigation. They are trying to kill this man because the Democrats tell the listening audience, some retards and some real smart people like Cole Allen, that is what they need to do. Bottom line, that's it. Brian Kilmeade, who follows me each and every morning here on 77 WABC. He's also part of Fox and Friends every morning on Fox News and his own great show, 10 p.m. Sunday nights, One Nation. He was in that room. He was in there on Saturday night. He'll be my first guest of 7 today, so we'll take a short break and find out from Brian Kilmeade, I should say, how chaotic Saturday night was in Washington, D.C. Kilmeade was there, and he's up next with me.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right, so getting back to the White House Correspondents' dinner from Saturday night. A few of our guests today were there. I had a chance to catch up early this morning with my friend Brian Kilmeade. Does a great job following me each and every morning here on 77 WABC, Fox and Friends and One Nation, 10 p.m. Sunday nights. Brian, good morning. You were there on Saturday night. Tell me, in the building, in that room, how chaotic was it?
I'll tell you what, Sid, it was pretty impressive. There wasn't a lot of screaming. There wasn't like, what's going on here? There's I mean, Dan Scavino got up and yelled USA, USA. No one really backed him up. Not that they didn't back him up, not that they don't believe in the country, but they were just trying to figure out what was happening. But for the most part, you watched, just picture being at an event, a theater, anything, and just watch people running full speed right up the aisle. And you think of yourself, this is disordinate. And then you look up at the dais and everyone's on the ground. And then they're being escorted out. And then all of a sudden you see the Secret Service, uniformed and ununiformed, grabbing. Everyone had a different assignment. They knew that Tulsi Gabbard was right next to me. She's out. They knew that Erica Kirk did not have a detail, but quickly they grabbed her because they saw she was traumatized, obviously, and she was shaking under the table, and they grabbed her. That was 2 seats away from me. And then, in front of us, Mark Wayne Mullen, they went, and you see Pete Hegseth being brought the other way. So you saw first the day is clear, then the officials clear, and then you wonder, were they chasing somebody in the room, or was everything happening outside? And was the banging that you heard, because I'm not from a war zone, I'm hearing banging, it wasn't deafening. So you heard banging. It could have been like someone being thrown against the wall. So that happened outside. Now, the one thing that has not been answered yet is the 10 shots, 5 to 10 shots got off. Wow. Who got hit? What got hit? This guy did some training. So, and what guts it took, and we don't know this side of the story yet, for the agents to take this guy down. So you're shooting. One guy gets shot in the chest. The vest saves him. Unlike Jonathan Diller, where it got under the vest, this guy gets saved by that, but knowing that he had to take a bullet in order maybe for the other guys to jump on. And I talked to an official last night, extremely senior, and he said, yeah, he goes, they all tackled him. So that took tremendous guts too. And then when, if he got in that room, I'm telling you, Sid, it would have been carnage. It would have been because you could not move. Literally, I could not walk between tables. I had to go, listen, I got to walk through. Can you get up? And I'll go up to these strangers because I was hanging back to the last minute to walk into the room because I knew once I got in, I'm not moving. So when I walked in, everybody was seated. And I'm telling you, I've been to 10 White House Correspondents' dinners. I've never seen it like this. So 2,100 people, no room between tables. This was the utter definition of a fire hazard. If everyone panicked, it would have been, people would have really got hurt. But nobody panicked, which is tremendous.
Yeah, did you actually hear the gunshots from the room?
I'll tell you what, I heard a banging, but most of all, when I knew this was real was the smell. I smelled gunpowder. And I was, in retrospect, I was probably 100 yards from where this whole thing happened. So I'm way by the dais, right? I'm table 134, which is very close to the front, just to the left, so more on the vice president's side. So I'm far away, and I'm smelling this. And I'm standing up, I'm just thinking to myself, maybe I can help, but I just want to know who's who, because I don't know. Does a guy dress up like he's a Secret Service agent and try to run through? Are they chasing somebody? But what they were doing is going after officials. So, and again, this is the third time this is happening in a year and a half. So what's going on here? And then you could drill down, they're calling the president a danger to democracy. They're saying this is guy in his screed, in his manifesto. He feels it's his almost civic duty to take out the president. What does that sound like? Same thing, shooter. Some people can't be talked to. I got to take it upon myself. Luigi, healthcare's a mess in this country. I got to start killing people. And they feel like martyrs. These are not gangsters, no parents, tattoos, in and out of prison. Well, society has let them down. Well, that's a different discussion. These guys have resources. This guy's living with his parents. This guy's a teacher. He won Teacher of the Month. This guy's got an advanced degree in engineering. So don't tell me that life gave him a bad hand. He's somehow watching what we're watching, listening to what we're listening to, and saying, I got to kill. So I think we need to step back and say, I'm not saying me and you. I'm saying that when you look at the way they're going at each other in Washington, the lawmakers, and the way they try to go after Trump is so cataclysmic that we have to just change it to, I disagree with the ballroom. I disagree with his border policy, rather than he is a fascist. He is a Hitler. And then what do you expect these marginalized people who already have a screw loose to think? I mean, there's got to be, we have to stop denying there's a relationship there.
I agree. And he took Norah O'Donnell to the woodshed last night when she mentioned rapist and pedophile, and she deserved that. But that's what they do. Like I love Bongino yesterday on Fox News because he said what I say all the time. This is not about two sides. There is one side that tried to kill Steve Scalise, that has tried to kill President Trump 3 times, that has killed Charlie Kirk. That's not our side. We're not perfect, but to compare the two, to put them in the same sentence is ridiculous. The left has completely lost control. I'm talking about politicians. I'm talking about the media. I'm talking about your next door neighbor. The left has gone completely insane. One last thing, I did see you on Fox News yesterday with Lawrence Jones. I was listening to Rachel. I should be watching Rachel Campos all morning long. I thought she was a little tough on Secret Service, but the truth is the guy did make it past the initial perimeter, I guess, and got to the door of the ballroom. In the end, President Trump texted me yesterday morning, which I was very happy about, and he was quick to say, hey, Sid, great job by my Secret Service last night. That's how he feels, but like I said, Campos, Jones, and others, they are still taking Secret Service to task this morning. What do you think?
Couple of things. I didn't go to the academy. I didn't train. I didn't even do a report if I wasn't in bed and even went for a week. So I am not going to say the problem is the perimeter. The problem is this. But I think there's some things that can be looked at. I think that maybe you don't do things in a hotel setting anymore. I mean, we did our Patriot Awards. Yeah, we did it in a hotel at the Hard Rock. But that thing was, I think it was Hard Rock. It was totally sealed up. The theater was totally different. So our guys had no problem figuring out a security plan. I mean, this is a huge hotel. Huge hotel. So if you can't, maybe it's too hard to set up a perimeter and not destroy the Hilton business who needs every weekend possible. You can't just tell these guys, empty out your hotel. Nobody else is going to be here. Maybe it's got to be in a convention center where you can do things like that. But, they've been doing this since 1928, Calvin Coolidge. So I imagine there's a template there that's been effective. So I think that I'm not going to jump to conclusions, but I am surprised that he got that close with a rifle that was screwed together in the back room. This was spotted by a witness. They watched him squatting down by bar carts, screwing together his rifle, and then walking in with a gun, and then just sprinting full speed upstairs and through, and then he got through one magnetometer. If you told me that could happen, I would say no way. So the fact that they're going to look at this, I think that they acted heroically in the moment. But if you want to tell me that the game plan and the game plan and the security plan wasn't adequate, I'm all ears. But I am not going to tell the Secret Service what to do. Dan Bongino can. He did this for 15 years. So I got to know. And I made the analogy you can really relate to. There's a lot of people who hop on the air on sports radio every single day and say, I know more than the GM, I know more than the players, I know more than the owners. Okay? Yeah. Did you do the work? At least, did you go to the locker rooms? Did you go see the people? Did you go interact with draft experts? Did you go to the combines? And then you give me your opinion. But if you just sit behind the microphone, you read Street and Smith, and then you're going to tell me that you know more than every of these teams, I'm not really going to pay attention. But it doesn't matter. It's sports. Now you're going to tell me you know how to set up the perimeter from the White House Correspondents' Dinner? I'm going to tell you that I'm surprised he got so far, but I am not going to say definitively either way, because you got to stay in your lane. But I'm going to ask the questions of the people that know, and I think that's your approach too.
No, fair enough. Absolutely. Paul Mauro is joining me next, and I'm going to ask him those same questions. But yeah, Dan Bongino was not critical of the Secret Service. Again, President Trump went out of his way on television and in a personal text to me to thank his Secret Service. So, we got to see exactly what that situation is. Anyway, I'm glad you're safe. I was worried about you and Bill O'Reilly, all my good friends, but you are a must-listen to today. I know you usually join me on Fridays. We'll do it again at the end of the week. But, folks, make sure you listen to Brian Kilmeade. He's coming up at 10 o'clock right after me. A must-listen to. You just heard him for the last 10 minutes. He's got details that no one else has. He was in the room. And, again, Brian Kilmeade, thank God you're okay. Thanks for a few minutes this morning.
All right, Sid, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
All right, pal, have a great day. Brian Kilmeade right there. We'll take a short break and talk to one of his colleagues, Paul Mauro at Fox News. He's coming up next.
This is Sid on Sports. Oh, my goodness! Sponsored by Peerless Boilers on 77 WABC.
Justin Ellick here. The sports update sponsored by Pete Morgan of Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com to find a deal near you. Peerless Boilers, the world's best built boilers, out in Atlanta on Saturday night. Cat had his first postseason triple-double. OG Anunoby scored 22 points, and the Knicks recovered after back-to-back losses to beat the Hawks 114-98, tying the Eastern Conference playoff series at 2 games apiece. They'll host Game 5 at Madison Square Garden tomorrow night, and the series is now guaranteed to return to Atlanta for Game 6 on Thursday. Elsewhere around the NBA playoffs yesterday, the Raptors beating the Cavaliers 93-89. That series is now knotted at 2 games apiece. Out in Portland, Spurs beat up on the Trailblazers 114-93.
You know why that happened?
Why?
Victor Wembanyama was back.
Hey, now.
And he had a monster game. Mm-hmm. Still a very dangerous team.
Yeah, and they're now up in that series 3-1. Out in Philadelphia, Celtics beating up on the 76ers as well, 128-96. That series is all but over as well. Boston up 3-1. And out in Houston, the Rockets beating the Lakers 115-96. They finally get involved and on the board in that series. Lakers now up 3-1
Shocking.
there.
Shocking.
Yeah.
No Austin Reeves, no Luka Doncic, still up 3-1.
You still got LeBron James. And
They do.
more
And
than
your
enough,
reigning
clearly.
champ Oklahoma City Thunder with a chance to sweep their series later on tonight, right?
Yeah, against the Denver Nuggets. That's coming up tonight. Out in Queens, the Mets lost 3-1 in yesterday's doubleheader opener against the visiting Colorado Rockies. They then went on to get shut out in the second game, getting swept in that 3-game series over the weekend. Loss in the finale was good for New York's 15th loss in 17 games. They're now tied with division rival Philadelphia for the worst record in the major leagues at 9-19.
The Carlos Mendoza watch is still on, but they won't do anything. I mean, Steve Cohen loves him, and David Stearns loves him. There's no way Cohen is going to blow out the whole front office right away. He's not doing that. So at the end of the year, certainly both of those guys are in trouble, and Mendoza will go before Stearns. Most Met fans will say fire them both. It doesn't happen that way, not during the season.
Right.
So I guess Mendoza will survive. You get swept by the Rockies. You've lost
crazy.
15 of 17. You're tied for the worst record in Major League Baseball. You're still here. I got a date with Steve Cohen coming up on May the 15th, and I've got a boatload of things to say to my new friend, the New York Met owner.
Yeah,
a boatload of things to say.
Yeah, he's got some answering to do. I mean, you're asking Mets fans to sit around for the rest of the season. There's 90% of the season left to go, and you're asking them to sit on their hands here. So that's a tough deal there. Out in Houston, Yanks lost 7-4 to the Astros. They do take 2 of 3 over the weekend from Houston, though. The loss yesterday snapping that 8-game winning streak they had going. Aaron Judge does homer on his birthday, as per usual. He turned 34 yesterday and hit a solo homer in the 6th. Up next for the Yanks, the ace Max Fried starts tonight's opener of a 3-game series at Texas. Jack Leiter will go for the Rangers in what will be an 8:05 p.m. first pitch from Arlington. That's your sports, sponsored by Pete Morgan and Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com to find a deal near you. Peerless Boilers, the world's best built boilers. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The so-called manifesto is a stunning thing to read, Mr. President. He appears to reference a motive in it. He writes this, quote, administration officials, they are targets. And he also wrote this, I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people, horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
Do you think he was referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person. I got associated with all stuff that has nothing to do with me. I was totally exonerated. Your friends on the other side of the plate are the ones that were involved with, let's say, Epstein or other things. But I said to myself, I'll do this interview, and they'll probably, I read the manifesto, he's a sick person, but you should be ashamed of yourself reading that, because I'm not any of those things.
Mr. President,
and
these
I was
are
never,
the gunman's words.
Excuse me. You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace.
Tell her. You'll hear these discussions all morning long, like when Ducey asked President Trump yesterday, why does this keep happening to you? Well, there's your answer. Right there. Norah O'Donnell, 60 Minutes, part of a lot of people who refer to the president, not just the president. I told you this a bunch of times last week. At this point, I get called a pedophile every day. Every day. Me, Sid Rosenberg, a pedophile. Couldn't be a better father. Love kids. I'm a pedophile because I'm friends with Trump. So it's not just Trump. Now, if you're associated or, God forbid, friendly, like I am with President Trump, you're a pedophile. You're a rapist. You're all those things. Then you want to know why people are trying to kill him? Well, people like Cole Allen, who may be very book smart, very. Went to college, got a master's degree. He's a moron because he believes all the garbage that the liberal media spews. There's your answer. Norah O'Donnell. And then, of course, the liberal politicians. All of them yesterday with their tweets of concern. Shove it up your ass. You're not fooling me, you liars. And the voters. But anyway, I watched Fox News all day. This guy happens to be, as you know, one of my favorites. He's great on television. More importantly, he was an amazing cop here in New York. Just a couple of weeks ago, I had the honor of being honored with him and Bo Dietl by the retired DEA at Russo's on the Bay in Howard Beach. My good buddy Paul Mauro. Paul, good morning, pal. How are you?
I'm good, Sid. Good morning.
Nice to have you here. Let's start with how this whole thing came about. This Cole Allen checks into a hotel room on Friday night looking to commit this heinous act on Saturday. And folks are asking the question, even before he got to the event on Saturday night, how does somebody make it all the way from Los Angeles to D.C. and check into a hotel with a shotgun, a handgun, a bunch of knives? Is the answer as simple as, well, if you take the train, nobody checks your luggage? Is that the easy answer here?
Well, that is certainly how he got cross-country, because he knew he can't take a plane with the guns. And so, sure, anybody who's taken Amtrak or any of the commercial railroads knows that, they're not going to check your luggage. And so he could do that. The real question, I think, is, we have to face the fact that the hotel was likely, and let's face facts, Donald Trump has been targeted like no other president in our lifetimes, that the hotel is a very, very difficult place to secure. All hotels are. History has shown that. RFK Sr. was killed in a hotel in a shooting. So that being the case, you have to remember it's a commercial establishment that's going to continue to operate while you're holding this event. You got thousands of guests who are going to expect room service, their rooms to be made up, et cetera. And so there's a lot of conflicting agendas going on, and that played a factor here because he's there being treated as a guest, that is Cole Allen. And so he's afforded a little bit of maneuvering inside the building that somebody just showing up for the event is not going to have. That's what he used to his advantage. And look, were there better ways to secure it? I'm sure there would have been, but they made the decision to do it the way they did because of what I just said. And I think going forward, what they just have to say is, as the Secret Service, if we can't secure the venue, let's find another venue or do a different event. And that goes for this president who, as you mentioned, there are a lot of people out there proselytizing and really advocating and sanctioning violence against him.
There's no doubt about it. They can deny it all they want. That's exactly what they do. Hassan Piker, Hakeem Jeffries, right? The minority speaker. He wants to be the majority speaker. Just a couple of days ago, encouraged violence. Hakeem Jeffries. Let's get to Saturday. So the event gets underway. This guy, I guess I read he was on the 10th floor of the hotel. He was able to make his way to the actual floor of the White House Correspondent's dinner, taking stairs, crouching in certain situations to build his gun, his shotgun. He did have a handgun and a bunch of knives. What can you tell us, Paul Mauro, about when he left his hotel room? What did he exactly do to get to the point where he sprinted past that first perimeter to try to get closer to the president?
So obviously he had checked in before the event, and it sounds like he had scoped out the area and knew where the ingress and egress was going to be near the ballroom. So apparently what he did day of is he knew the timing of it, and I guess he reasoned, unless, there's something else that's going to come out here that we don't know about, he reasoned that the dais would have been seated. Then he left his hotel room, came down an interior staircase that apparently nobody was monitoring, and got to a small room, some kind of utility room, that was just off the room that we've all seen that he charges through. In that room, the small room, is where he apparently assembled the long gun, which is a shotgun, apparently, which is a strange weapon to choose in this instance. So he does that, and then he leaves there and sprints through that room, the last room, towards the last line of defense, which is the magnometers. That's where the service was, and that's where they stopped him. Had he gotten through there, it was a few short steps down and then into the ballroom. And then at that point, I assume he was counting on the ability to make it all the way across the ballroom just by sprinting and by scaring people and get close enough to use buckshot, which he says right in his manifesto, which sort of sprays, the shot. You'd have to be pretty close to the president to do that. And then I assume usually you get 2 shots with that if it's double barrel. And then he had a handgun that I assume he was going to go to, because he said that his target was Trump officials, plural. So that seems to be the plan. And all I can say is, look, thank God they stopped him. We all know that. Hats off to the Secret Service. But consider, Sid, he had gotten close enough that he was just outside the ballroom. What if he'd had a bomb? What if he'd had a machine gun or something? This could have been a lot worse. And I do really think, I just have to double tap what I said earlier. We have to look at these things because Donald Trump's got another 3 years, and they're going to keep trying, man.
Oh, they're going to keep trying. Like I said yesterday on Twitter, they'll keep trying as long as Democrats keep lying. They'll keep trying as long as Democrats keep lying, and they will keep trying. And you're right. If they had a bomb, or somebody had a bomb or a machine gun, it could have been a heck of a lot worse. I mean, this guy's plan was actually silly. He was going to run past, all these different stages of Secret Service, carrying a heavy shotgun and knives. What do you need knives for? I don't know. And then he talked about in his manifesto how he didn't want to have to kill Secret Service people or the Capitol Police. They were nice people. They didn't deserve to die, but he would do whatever it took to make sure he killed people inside the room. So the truth is, while he did get a little too close for most people's comfort, and he was heavily armed, his plan for a very, very smart guy was kind of stupid, no?
Yeah, this guy's a loser. Let's not mince words, all right? Look, he's innocent until proven guilty. Who's also a loser? Mangione. Who also is a loser? The shooter of Charlie Kirk, all right? These guys are all slipping down losers who are imbibing a constant stream of radical, not Democrat, which the Democrats you and I grew up on, but radical progressive ideology that has come to the Stalinist conclusion that the ends justify the means. And, when I was growing up, that statement, as we were taught Soviet history, was an example of how far off track the hyper-left had gone as it manifested itself in Soviet Russia. Now, it is mainstreamed. We have people, when I was doing counterterrorism, Sid, we had to contend with the fact that the sanctioners and proselytizers were in caves overseas trying to get their message out, and the internet was spreading it through social media. Now, you have not only more platforms, but you have end-to-end encryption. And further, the sanctioners are not overseas. They have late-night talk show hosts are doing this stuff.
Yeah.
It's part of the mainstream narrative. And so people like this guy, who had what we always called, doing the studies on this stuff, a cognitive aperture, a sort of way to get into his mindset. He's looking for a purpose. He's looking for somehow or other to be a hero. And this is not a hard guy. As you said, he's got a master's degree. He's highly educated. And so he decides to formulate this half-baked plan, which borderline looks to me like suicide by cop, which I almost expect to be a defense here. And that's why the manifesto is so important, because you have the targeting of Donald Trump, which allows you to upgrade those charges. So, he's a loser. He's a failure. And I wouldn't be surprised if he actually goes to trial in order to get a little bit more of his moments in the sun. And what worries me about that is that this is a jurisdiction where some of Donald Trump's prosecutions have gone awry just because the jury pulled.
Yeah, just like New York. So a lot of folks are very critical of the Secret Service. I was watching you yesterday morning. Rachel Campos, the whole show, she was critical. Lawrence Jones came on. He was critical. And I want to read this text that I sent to President Trump at 7:19 a.m. yesterday morning. And it reads, I'm glad you're okay, but sad and sickened that you continue to go through this. So sorry. But the majority of us love and appreciate you, bottom line. Stay strong, my friend. That was 7:19. 3 minutes later, after this chaotic night, President Trump texted me back, 7:22, and it reads, thanks, Sid. A rough evening. Secret Service did a great job. And, of course, his signature, President DJT. So he was quick to congratulate the Secret Service. Yeah, a lot of folks that were on TV yesterday and have spoken to me the last 2 days said, wait a second. A, this guy got dangerously too close. B, let me ask you something. This guy runs through all those Secret Service guys. They've all got guns, and nobody shoots them? How does this guy end up shirtless on the floor, even alive, after what we saw in Butler, Pennsylvania? No answers there. There are still plenty of people that are down on Secret Service even Saturday, despite the president saying, I thought they did a great job. What about you?
The president's reflex, to his great credit, is to support law enforcement and the people around him that are willing to take a bullet for him. And so, I've been on the air regarding this issue a lot over the last, day and a half. And, I'm trying to thread that needle because I do have some genuine ambivalence about this. I have nothing but respect for the Secret Service agents. These are people who go to work, and their job is to get shot protecting a president. I mean, that's their job description. So you're talking real courage here and dedicated people, and more power to them. That said, the agency institutionally, from everything I hear from sourcing I have, and I have some good sourcing on this, is in trouble. They have recruitment problems. They are down thousands of agents. Their average class is only in the dozens. So it'll take years for them to re-up where they need to be. They are a little bit lost being under DHS. A lot of people think they should either be a standalone agency or be put back under Treasury.
Well, wait, you did mention DHS. To further complicate this stuff, these guys, like them or not, they have not been paid now in 72 days.
Right. That's right. Another shameful aspect of all of this. And I'm going to tell you something else that you don't hear much, but is a fly in the ointment here. They have, as a sort of legacy aspect of their mandate, doing financial investigations of various sorts, fraud investigations, counterfeiting, that kind of stuff. It doesn't belong under the service. That's a ghost in the machine that survives from decades, hundreds of years ago, actually, 100 and something years, I think it is. They're one of the oldest agencies we have. They go back to the Old West. So what really needs to happen here is they need to be dedicated to one single mission, and that is being a protective agency to do the body work that we all expect of them, get those financial investigations out from under, resource them, get them the agents. And, I think they're holding a meeting. So reportedly, Susie Wiles is convening a meeting. She's the one who's been keeping an eye on this agency, and they're going to take a hard look at it. I don't think by any means Donald Trump is going to hurt the director. I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of a shakeup. Because, look, just by definition here, they were brave. They stopped it where they were supposed to. The president appreciates them, and that's their job. Not to protect the whole ballroom, not to protect everybody that's there, to protect the president and the VP. That's their mandate. And they got that done. And they jumped on him, and they got the president out of there, and they got the VP out of there. But undeniably, there are some systemic issues there that don't seem to be resolved, and I think they now recognize that.
It's funny, they actually evacuated J.D. Vance first. They got to the
I saw that.
Yeah, why was that?
I don't, look, they have particular agents assigned to particular people, and for whatever reason, the vice president's people seemed to have reacted quicker. I don't know if it's out of deference to the president that they didn't want to jump in front of him or on him. It's a very good question, and I'm sure that's going to be one of the questions they ask, just as they ask, who shot and, how did they all miss? Because my understanding is that there were a lot of shots fired in close proximity, and nobody hit him.
Yeah, I heard 5 to 10 from Brian Kilmeade early this morning, and nobody hit him.
Brian has good sourcing, so I'm sure that's accurate.
One of his sources, so he's accurate. What do you think about the possibility, if not probability now, of President Trump wearing a bulletproof vest wherever he goes.
Yes, not a bad idea. They probably shouldn't announce that because it could affect how people go at him in terms of targeting and so on.
Right. It's funny you say that because today, for example, Guy Rivera is going to be in a New York courtroom. He's going to be sentenced today for the murder of police officer Jonathan Diller. We all hope he gets the full 90 years, but he found a way to kill Diller to shoot underneath. So I'm glad you said that. Why even tell people that?
That's right. But they should be doing things like that and taking every precaution. Look, Donald Trump came out and said the right things at the press conference. We can't let this still our First Amendment rights. We have to continue to do these events. It's my job as the president. And he knew what he was getting into. He knew what it was like the first time. But, as I said, it's the Secret Service that has to keep him healthy, alive, and his family for the next 3 years, including the vice president. And we have to do everything we can, including building the ballroom, to make sure that we don't have the kind of tragedy that so many on the left really, really want. And we're kidding ourselves if we just continue to say, we're the best, Secret Service is the best, there can be no improvement. Every agency can improve. There's going to be a very deep investigation into this. And I do suspect, maybe unlike Butler, we're going to see some real systemic changes.
I hope so. Paul Mauro, as always, nobody better. You're brilliant on TV. You're great here, too. You become a dear friend. You always make time for me. Thank you so much. Great job this morning, Paul, as always. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sid. Take care.
God bless you. Great American right there. Great cop. That guy was a hero cop in this town for, ready for this? 22 years. And even served during 9/11. Paul Mauro. We'll take a break. Off to a terrific start with Brian Kilmeade and Paul Mauro. Still to come, we're going to talk to Senator Ron Johnson. Not one, but two amazing female columnists from the New York Post, both Karol Markowicz and Miranda Devine. I think Bill O'Reilly's going to stop by on a Monday. He was also in that ballroom on Saturday night. John Catsimatidis as well. Point is, a lot more to do, just getting started. About 86 minutes in on this epic Monday morning show, your favorite show, Sid and Friends in the morning.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Big weekend. We'll get back to the President Trump talk. We've already had Brian Kilmeade and Paul Mauro on. We'll have guests all morning long, but my beautiful wife Danielle set up a great birthday weekend for me. Just beautiful. Finished the show on Friday. You guys know you saw me here late Friday afternoon. She got a hotel at the Sheraton, which is in Midtown. And then me, Danielle, our friends Orrin and Paige and Sandy made our way to a place we hadn't gone in 9 years. 9. I celebrated my 50th birthday there at the old location, and here we were 9 years later, down on the Lower East Side, on Stanton Street by Essex, at one of my favorite places, Sammy Romanian's Steakhouse. You ever go there, Justin, with your mom and dad?
Yeah, actually.
Oh, what a great place.
Years ago I went.
Great place.
I actually think I went before... It was part of my bar mitzvah celebration.
Yeah, it's the old one, yeah. Yeah, it's a big deal, that place. Very big deal. They got great food. They got great music. And, man, the staff was great. Terry and Anthony, his son, and David, the owner. And we had a great time. I missed, because of that, and there's no remorse, but I did miss the annual Metropolitan Republican Club Gala, which was a big night. They gave awards to Rudy Giuliani, Vicky Palladino, Emily Austin, and they gave an award to both me and Alan Dershowitz. Both of us received the same award, a beautiful award. It was called it's called the America First Ally Award, and I gave that to me and Alan because we are steadfast supporters of the U.S.-Israel alliance, and Dersh showed up. Alan Dershowitz on Friday night was at a Republican club. You believe that? So when he came on this show a couple of days ago and he said, Sid, I'm actually doing it. I'm going to register after 87 years as a Republican. He showed up for Chris Alenzo Friday night at a Republican club. And I heard it was great. Johnny Tobacco, JT did a great job hosting. And because I wasn't there, my dear friend, our dear friend, the relentless patriot, the brilliant artist, Scott Lebedo, accepted my award on my behalf. So thank you, Scott. So that was Friday. Then Saturday morning, we hit Applejack's Diner. Mike and the guys do a great job there. And then went to a place that we really love, Ari Ancient Baths. You ever go there, Justin?
No.
Place is amazing. They've got all these pools, and they're different temperatures, the water, from freezing cold to really, really hot.
Yeah, I've been to one of those out in Europe before.
Okay, they've got one of these in Copenhagen.
In Hungary.
Too.
Yeah, Hungary I went to one.
Yep, same thing.
Yeah.
You know, they got the steam rooms, and then at the end, we went upstairs for a couples massage.
Ooh, that's nice.
It was just a great, great weekend.
How
Danielle.
often do you think they clean the pools?
Never.
Okay, gotcha.
Never.
Right.
People make pee-pee in the pool.
Pee-pee duty.
Yeah, duty, the whole thing.
Right, okay.
I don't know, but I can tell you this. My eyes were hurting afterwards because of the chlorine, which made me happy. I was like, good. So all in all, an amazing weekend. I want to thank my beautiful wife, Danielle. I love you. Thank you for a great birthday weekend. Now it's over. Now we wait till next year when I turn the big 60. But thank you again to Sammy Romanian Steakhouse. I know.
Pressure on everybody.
A lot of pressure. A lot of thanks to the Applejack's Diner.
Sid's going to have a list.
Oh, yeah. Ari Ancient Bass and all the fine folks at the Metropolitan Republican Club for that beautiful award they gave me on Friday night. We'll take a short break when we get back.
I tell you who forgot my 60th.
Oh, no. It's good. If you thought I was bad at 59, you know I'm keeping score at 60. That's the big one. I'll be keeping score. You know who's going to text me? Don't worry about it, President Trump. If he texted me yesterday, which he did, he will text me for my birthday, no question. Ron Johnson
We should probably start a committee to start planning this.
You should do that, yeah. Start it today. Yeah. One of my favorite senators in the country, the great senator from the state of Wisconsin, and Ron Johnson is my next guest on this Monday morning show, Sid and Friends in the Morning.
Sid and Friends in the Morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Thank you, President Trump. There's a report in the New York Post that this assailant assembled his weapon somewhere on site at the hotel. What do you think about that? And I ask respectfully, why do you think this keeps happening to you?
Well, you know, I've studied assassinations, and I must tell you, the most impactful people, the people that do the most, you take a look at the people, Abraham Lincoln, I mean, you go through the people that have gone through this where they got them. But the people that do the most, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much because they like it that way. And when you look at the people that have either, whether it was an attempt or a successful attempt, they're very impactful people. Just take a look at the names there, the big names. And I hate to say I'm honored by that, but I've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've taken this country, and we were a laughing stock for years, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We've changed this country, and there are a lot of people that are not happy about that. So I think that's the answer, Peter.
Peter Ducey and the great President Donald J. Trump, and that's why it keeps happening, because he is consequential. But the party you left out, which you did talk about later, a lot throughout yesterday, it keeps happening because of the Democrats, the liberal media, the Democrat politicians, people on the street, wherever you go that are quick to call Trump, and even Sid, me, Nazis, pedophiles, rapists, they don't care. They throw these words around like they mean nothing. Trump is none of those. I'm none of those. Most of the people they categorize as those are not that. And that's how you get people killed. That's the bottom line. Yes, Trump is consequential. He's right. No one has had their life threatened and more attempts on their life than President Trump in the history of this office. So we know that's a fact. You can't argue that. But the real reason why is the Democrats continue to spew hate, and they encourage these types of violent acts. Ron Johnson, great senator from the state of Wisconsin. You know, Ron, I remember, I didn't know you, and I certainly didn't know your state. I went to Milwaukee for the very first time in my life a couple of years ago to go to the RNC, Republican National Convention. President Trump was nominated that Thursday night as our official nominee. And, of course, thank God he went on to win the presidency. But people may have forgotten he arrived, Ron, in your town, Milwaukee, Sunday. I got there Saturday, 4 days before he was nominated, wearing a big white patch on his ear because the day before, as I watched in horror from my hotel room in Milwaukee, a would-be assassin didn't kill Trump, killed somebody else, tried to kill him. So he was in your town with you, Ron Johnson, literally the first time they tried to kill him.
So you may remember the side note to that. I had given President Trump a chart on April 2nd of 2024, that same year, immigration chart that he started using immediately in the campaign. It was that chart that he looked at that he credits with saving his life. So there's a little bit of serendipity there. But, you know, based on what happened, again, you know, another act of violence, without a doubt, stirred up by the radical left. I mean, this is not coming from both sides. You know, I sprang from the Tea Party. We had a lot of big rallies in 2009, 2010, but the Tea Party rallies were famous for nobody leaving litter behind. So there was no violence. Fast forward 4 years, the Summer of Love, the BLM, the Antifa peaceful protests where a couple dozen people lost their lives, 2,000 police officers were injured. You had about $2 billion worth of property damage, and the media just overlooks that. But if I really, again, I entered politics in 2010 because of that Tea Party movement. If I really think back and just, you know, think about how this has all been ginned up, I go back to October 30th of 2008, when then presidential candidate Barack Obama stated, "We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America." And that wasn't just frivolous rhetoric. He was deadly serious about that, and that's pretty much what he and his disciples, his fellow travelers, community organizers, have been doing since 2009. And they've been laying the groundwork. They have all these shadow groups. I mean, who organized all those BLM Antifa riots? Who paid for training 30,000 activists to obstruct justice, obstruct ICE, and then encourage those activists to put themselves in harm's way, knowing they could get hurt? And, of course, two of them became martyrs to their cause. You know, the left doesn't express any sympathy whatsoever for the hundreds, thousands of victims of crime created by the illegal immigrants they allowed into this country, unvetted. But all they talk about are the two martyrs that they encouraged to put themselves into harm's way. No, the left is sick. I'm glad I heard earlier Alan Dershowitz has finally seen the light.
Yeah.
And he's rejected the Democrat Party. That's probably, you know, he may not be fully Republican, but he has rejected the Democrats. We need Americans across the board to reject that vile ideology of the radical left.
Yeah, I've actually made it my business to do that with people. I think I've also turned Michael Rappaport into a Republican, other lesser-known people in New York. That's been my job the last couple of years, and I'm glad you said left. I said with all respect, Senator Johnson, I don't want to hear about the radical left. I don't. I'm sorry. A lot of people at my station and my business do that. As far as I'm concerned, the left. That's it. What radical left? You know, the guys that were the most moderate the last 20 years, even the new guys on the scene, Hakeem Jeffries, would you consider him radical left? No, you wouldn't. But you know what? He's encouraged violence. Chuck Schumer. So I actually get offended when I hear people mention the radical left. Do me a favor on this show. Just call them the left. Because at this point, I can't tell the difference.
No, just call them Democrats. I mean, it's an interchangeable term. I have no trouble with you pointing that out at all. No, Democrats have become the radical left. They are one and the same party. Again, that's what I'm pointing out. President Obama was their standard bearer. He is the guy who is, I think, largely responsible for the division and the hate we're seeing in the country today. Now he was well spoken. He's a articulate guy. But what his disciples, people like Eric Holder, his supporters, his funders like George Soros. I mean, they're the ones that funded all these radical left Democrat DAs that refuse to prosecute crime. I mean, he's the one that issued the Deferred Action on Childhood Arrival Order, which was the catalyst for all this future mass illegal immigration. That was Obama's. That was his idea. And he's the one that has done such harm to our healthcare system by trying to turn it into a single-payer system. And Obamacare has done, although it didn't go that far, it's done a great deal of harm. It certainly didn't reduce the cost of healthcare.
Oh, no. He also, under his presidency, the first black man, he was going to save us. BLM was born under Obama. You had the Ferguson, Missouri with that guy Michael Brown, who was a terrible person. You had here in New York on Staten Island, you had Eric Garner, you had Freddie Gray in Baltimore, Maryland. All that was under Barack Obama. But I want to move to Secret Service, Ron, because I specifically remember talking to you that week in Wisconsin, and you were very, very upset, and you talked about it in Congress for a long time, about what you thought was a terrible job by the Secret Service protecting President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. We still have questions. A guy was murdered that day. Now fast forward to this Saturday, and folks are asking, how does a guy end up even close to the door of a ballroom with a shotgun, a handgun, and 2 knives? Now, President Trump texted me yesterday morning. He said, thank you for checking in, Sid. I'm okay. And he credited his Secret Service. But as was pointed out on this show, he's always quick outside of Butler to credit the people that protect him. Outside of Trump, I'm hearing a lot more people this morning criticizing what they saw on Saturday night. What about you, Senator Johnson?
Well, again, the criticism I have is, first of all, you assembled so many of our top leaders, the president, vice president, so many of his cabinet officers. We shouldn't do that at a heightened level of risk in this country. That'd be probably my main criticism there. Plus, the second one, you can't do anything about it until we have a much larger ballroom, at the White House where you can actually have it secure. I mean, as long as we don't have a venue like that, and you have to hold them in places where you have, 1,000-room hotel, that, again, you're not going to body search everybody that checks in that hotel for the 3 weeks prior to that. So they set up, what ended up being a successful security perimeter. And God bless the Secret Service and federal law enforcement who put their lives in danger to keep us and the president safe. That's the group, by the way, that Democrats have defunded, that they refuse to pass a bill that would fund all of DHS. Again, that is the radical left Democrat Party. That is what they're doing. So, no.
I'm glad you brought. Hold on. I'm going to stop you right there because today happens to be day 72 where the Secret Service is not being paid. 72 days, to your point, Ron Johnson. So with that said, and with what we saw on Saturday night, do you believe what happened Saturday will bring the Democrats to the table and maybe speed up this DHS process?
Well, what I called for yesterday on Sunday's shows is Leader Thune ought to hold a vote right away on the full DHS funding bill that the House has passed. I mean, we could do this literally in one vote in the Senate, fund it all. And you should do that. And if Democrats reject it after what happened on Saturday night, this is the moment to end the filibuster. Now, right now we do not have the votes to end the filibuster, but we did not have the votes to basically nuke the filibuster when it came to nominees, when the Democrats were so obnoxious and obstructionist, okay, on President Trump's nominees. He wasn't even going to get 500 nominees in his first Congress, when normally the average is about 1,100. The Democrats were not allowing him to staff the administration, so we didn't have the votes to nuke the filibuster for the nomination process till Democrats were so obnoxious that we did have the votes. So again, Democrats provide the votes, and we won't have the votes to end the filibuster. If they don't provide the votes, I think Republicans who have refused to end the filibuster at this point in time, who refuse to acknowledge the fact that when the Democrats have the chance, they will end the filibuster. I have no doubt about that. I have a lot of colleagues who do, but this may just be the catalyst that will allow the Senate to become functional again. How much more broken can the U.S. Senate get? That's the argument. Oh, we can't break this this revered institution by ending the filibuster. We didn't even have the filibuster till the early 1900s.
Right.
We'll survive.
Two more will let you run. I thought a silly conversation on the Sunday shows yesterday. I thought you were great with Maria. I love that show. It's my favorite show. Was a lot of the hosts were asking, do you think now Saturday night we're going to turn the corner and Democrats are going to realize the ill of their ways and there'll be more people united? Could we stop that nonsense? I heard the same thing after Butler, Pennsylvania. Remember, Joe Biden called President Trump, I'm glad you're okay. I keep hearing the same thing over and over again. And it takes these Democrats, whether it's the media or politicians or idiots in the street, one day, maybe 2 days, to go right back to who they are. Why do we keep asking time and time again if that's the turning point? Let's just see it the way it is, which is they hate us, they hate Ron Johnson, they hate Sid Rosenberg, they hate President Trump. F them. We don't need them. Let's move forward with this country and try to save ourselves without always worrying. Like if I hear one more time that this Rep. Maria Perez in California actually said, can we stop trying to kill the president? Good for her. They found one person, one Democrat in 24 hours that actually said that. I'm tired of hearing it, Ron. It's not going to happen.
Well, I guess hope springs eternal. You know, I did point out, so many of these Democrats run as moderates, right, that you almost think they're the Republican candidate, and then they get into office, like the new mayor of Virginia, and they govern as radical leftists. So, no, they're not going to change their stripes, not at all. So I pointed out repeatedly as I've called for any of the filibuster in our conferences. I'm not popular for doing that, by the way. But as I've done that, I've tried to remind my colleagues or point out to them, you do realize the Democrat Party is at war with us. They're just not a political opposition. They want to wipe us out as a political opposition because their overall goal is to turn America into a one-party nation. That's why they flooded millions of unvetted immigrants into this country, into their sanctuary cities and states, plus up the census, increased members of Congress. When they do, and again, resist all election integrity laws, when they do get the chance, they'll end the filibuster, turn D.C., Puerto Rico into states, former Democrat senators, pack the Supreme Court, nationalize elections, automatic registration, mail-in ballots. That's their game plan. That's why they will never vote for election integrity measures, because that is existential to that overall game plan. So, no, they're not going to change this. They are at war with us. And unfortunately, too many of my Republican colleagues they don't want to believe it. Okay, they're not.
Yeah. Well, I believe it. So I believe it, and I'm not willing to back down. So I did something a couple of nights ago. Wrap it up with this. There's a guy. He's running against Cory Booker for that Congress seat, the Senate seat in New Jersey, I should say. His name is Alex Sedan. I like him. I actually spoke at his event at Trump National in Colts Neck, New Jersey last week. He's all about medical freedom. He's all about parental choice. And because of him and the people in and around him, which include Bobby Kennedy, Aaron Siri, some local people as well, I'm starting to get really well-versed on just how much misinformation was told to the American people over the years, whether it's vaccinations when you're a child, the COVID vaccination, given the choice to parents to put what they want in their children's bodies. I'm becoming one of these people, Ron, that is basically ready to work for Bobby Kennedy. So Wednesday's a big day for you. How Biden health officials purposely turned a blind eye toward the COVID-19 vaccine safety signals. You got some big people stopping by. Tell me more about Wednesday.
Well, again, because of Bobby Kennedy's commitment to radical transparency, we end up getting 8 to 11 million pages. And it takes a long time to sift through that, but we found that they not only hid the signal on myocarditis, but they also saw a signal in late 2022 on ischemic stroke in people over 65. Week after week, they hid that as well. But the bigger revelation is they were warned that their analytical system on VAERS, this is in March of 2021, just a couple months after the emergency use authorization, they were told by the inventors of the analytic system that system was going to mask serious safety signals. And then a little less than a month later, they were shown the analysis of a system that unmasked that, where there were 49 cases of extreme masking, 25 safety signals, and those people were told to basically go away, cease and desist. We got to be consistent. We're going to use the old system, even though they knew. So Peter Marks, the head of CBER, knew that their analytic system on VAERS was hiding serious safety signals, sudden cardiac death, ischemic, or that type of thing. and they buried it. They hid it, and that's what the hearing's about on Wednesday.
That is an amazing cause. I know I speak to a lot of ladies, Moms for Liberty, for example, and ladies that held that great rally in Jersey back in 2020 for parental and freedom, religious freedom, and all those medical freedoms. And, Ron, you're a hero to them. They love you, as I do. So continued success. You're a great senator and a great friend. And we'll talk again very, very soon, Ron Johnson. Thank you so much.
Have a great day. Stay well.
You too, buddy. Ron Johnson right there, the terrific senator from the state of Wisconsin. Who knew that me and the senator from Wisconsin would end up being good friends? But we are. We'll take a short break. When we get back, she used to live in New York. She left. She gone. She's now living in beautiful Boca Raton, Florida, but she still loves New York, and she still writes for the New York Post, and she's a great writer. Our friend Karol Markowicz, back on Sid and Friends in the morning. She's next.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, let's get right to it. Love this lady, New York Post columnist, now in Florida. Spent most of her life in New York. The very talented Karol Markowicz. Been late. Big morning. Brian Kilmeade, Paul Mauro, Senator Ron Johnson, all here. Still to come, John Catsimatidis, Bill O'Reilly, and Miranda Devine. But here is my friend Karol. Karol, good Monday morning. How are you?
Hi, Sid. So nice to be on with you.
Nice to have you back, too. And, of course, on this day, after what we saw once again, Saturday night, another attempt at President Trump's life. We've discussed all morning long, every angle of it. Why it happens, Democrats. Did the Secret Service do a good job or not? What does the future look like? So let me get to you, Karol. Your thoughts on what we witnessed on Saturday night.
Well, my main thought about it is that the wannabe shooter was mimicking and parroting very kind of mainstream Democrat talking points. He sounded like he could have been on CNN. He did not sound like a fringe Reddit, kind of guy. I think that's very concerning, that this is no longer like a super fringe thing that these wackos, find themselves feeling violent and having mental health issues and taking a shot at the president. This is like a guy who went to Caltech. Maybe he was on a downward spiral, but he had all the tools for success and got derailed by possibly just the mainstream Democrat Party.
That's it. Really, MS Now, even more than CNN. I find them to be even more repulsive. But you're right, either one of them. And, he's doing stuff in his manifesto that they call President Trump every day. And they keep making this point every day because it's worth making. They call me that. I mean, what do I have to do with Jeffrey Epstein? They call me a pedophile on Twitter every day. Why? Because I'm friendly with the president. So Sid's now a pedophile, and Sid's a Nazi. So, yeah, it's not hard to figure out why some of these psychos are out there trying to kill President Trump when these media people and of course, the politicians are very quick to say things like that.
Exactly. I mean, he was basically parroting what these politicians were saying. I mean, Nancy Pelosi has said that Trump has betrayed the oath of office. Joe Biden called him, said that he had betrayed the Constitution. Eric Swalwell, same kind of thing, betrayed our country. Tim Ryan, Trump acted like a traitor. I mean, these are the words that he used in his manifesto. This is a man, again, who has not been radicalized by some fringe. He's been radicalized by the mainstream Democratic Party. I think Democrats need to take a long, hard look at themselves. They have to understand this does not stay contained to just their side. This is going to motivate people on the opposite side to kind of behave in a crazy way too. They should want to bring down the temperature. I mean, this always happens. This is like a constant thing with them where they think that they could do whatever they want, and then they realize, actually, it'll end up biting us as well.
Yeah, I don't know about the other side. I know that there was a Shapiro incident and a politician in Minnesota, it could, but I get very upset, and I was happy to see Dan Bongino make this point yesterday too. When I have family members and friends who go, both sides are crazy.
No,
Stop
no,
it.
No, not
Stop
both
it.
sides.
One
No,
side is completely insane. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
One side is completely insane. What I'm saying is that if they don't bring down the temperature, they cannot count on just their side staying insane. Yes, right now all the bullets are going in one direction, absolutely. But how much longer will various people on the right take it? I think that's like the question they need to be asking themselves. Is this going to stay this way? And they just can't count on that. And they should do the right thing for the country and bring down the temperature.
And yet, because I talk to Rick Scott on this show now almost every week. I talk to Congressman Randy Fine on this show now almost every week. You don't seem to have a lot of these issues in sunny Boca Raton, do you?
Look, Florida's a different thing. You know, it's something that I really appreciate about the state. I appreciate a lot of things about it, but being able to exercise our Second Amendment rights, for example, we feel a lot safer and secure here. Obviously, bad things can happen anywhere, but it does happen more often in blue jurisdictions. That it's really hard to overlook that.
Blue jurisdiction on Saturday night doesn't get much bluer than D.C., except for maybe New York and California, which you pointed out very recently, and you're right, Carol, that a California billionaire tax gets on the ballot. Talk about that story.
So it's been a long time coming because it's been in the news for a while as billionaires like Sergey Brin leave the state. So what's going on there is a proposed wealth tax. So it would confiscate wealth from billionaires in the state, and it would be retroactive to last January 1st. So a lot of billionaires left in December. Now, the argument was, why are the billionaires leaving? This isn't even on the ballot yet. And that's because the billionaires didn't trust the voters in their state not to get it on the ballot. And today we find out that this wealth tax has made the ballot. It has enough signatures to be on the ballot in November. Next thing, people in California will be voting on this measure, and then the governor will have to decide whether to sign it into law. The billionaires understand that they're living in a crazy place. California has gone completely off the rails, and they understand that they can't trust their fellow citizens in California not to enact this piece of legislation. So billionaires have been out the door. Multimillionaires have been out the door because they know once the billionaires have left, they're going to be the next ones getting their wealth confiscated. I mean, it's an ongoing thing in these leftist enclaves where the left pushes the more mainstream Democrats to move leftward. And that's what we're seeing in California.
No, it's everywhere. In fact, I just said to Ron Johnson said radical left, and I said, please don't get offended, but stop doing that. Because to me, there's the left. That's it.
Yeah,
Democrats, the same thing. I don't care if you're Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, Jamie Raskin, or Bernie Sanders. They're all the same. They all end up the same. This common sense Democrat doesn't exist. There's one. His name is John Fetterman. He's a Republican at this point. It's nonsense. He's a Republican. Or else there's no such thing. And you talk about pushing out billionaires. We got a story here. This guy's name is Ken Griffin, Carol, and he's a CEO of Citadel. He wanted to do a $6 billion project in New York City, which also would have created about 15,000 jobs. And this piece of garbage, radical Islam mayor of ours, who wants to punish successful people and get them out of here, he's driven Ken Griffin to the point where he's really considering not doing the job. Well, how does that help Mamdani and his $5.4 billion budget hole?
That's right. And, Ken Griffin moved from Chicago to Florida in 2022, same year I moved to Florida, and he took Citadel with him, his company Citadel. So a $51 billion hedge fund moved from Chicago to Florida, and he still has branches elsewhere. He still has an operation in New York, for example. He can decide not to have that anymore. I don't know if he will. I think that he employs thousands of people in New York. He's kind of I don't want to call Ken Griffin a softie, but he kind of is. He sort of like wants to do what's best for the people despite the terrible leadership. But he needs to teach Mamdani a lesson. You can't say this kind of thing. You can't stand outside of somebody's home, point up to it and say, this is a bad person, this is somebody we need to target, and expect everything to be okay. I think that Ken Griffin should take the billions he's planning to invest in New York City and invest it in places that welcome him, invest it in places that welcome his company, invest it in places that welcome his money. And I understand his commitment to the people of New York, but he needs to rethink that.
I agree with you. I live here. I work in the city. My beautiful wife works in the city. My 2 children, my daughter Ava works in the city. My son Gabriel goes to school in the city. I live in Queens. I need this place to prosper. I don't care at this point. I want us to hit our knees. I'm a recovering addict. I know about hitting my knees and accepting, number one, I'm powerless, okay? We need the city to do that, and Mamdani will do that. Give him the opportunity. I want Griffin to take his money out. I would even ask John Catsimatidis to spend more time in St. Petersburg. I would ask Bill Ackman to go to West Palm Beach, because this city, it will hit rock bottom, but it may hit faster if some of these people like Ken Griffin say F you to this mayor, who turns out, Karol Markowicz, as afraid as we were when he won, 100-plus days in, he's even worse.
He is even worse because he feels like he has to cater again to the really radical far left flank. He's considered
but that's him. No, that's him.
People.
That's him.
No, I know. But he gets targeted by the even bigger lunatics. Like last week, the whole week was stories of Mamdani not being left enough, and he wants to be the furthest left. So yeah, I agree. It's him, but he is untethered, and I think he's just a complete disaster. He's incapable of governing, and so he needs to do stunts like this to make up for that.
So you got to feel better and better every day about 2022, yes?
You know I do, Stu. You know.
Yeah, I know you do. But your family is still here, right? Isn't your mom and dad still here?
My mom, my brother, they all still live in Brooklyn. Look, again, like you, I want New York to recover. I do think it is still on a downward spiral. I think it's nowhere near where they're going to be able to turn it around. They need to get to a point where they would elect a Rudy Giuliani to fix things. And we both know that they're not at that point yet.
They're going to get there. You know who's running in 2029?
Who?
Me.
You.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got Lara Trump on the show a couple of days ago to endorse me already. It'll take me 5 minutes to get DJT to endorse me. I've got Bruce Blakeman, who hopefully is going to beat Kathy Hochul for governor. He's like, as soon as I win, I'm announcing you're running. So I know my wife is listening. She's going to kill me. I know that. But I got so many really powerful people that matter. This is not a joke, that are saying to me, maybe you. Why not?
Sid, I could see it. You care about that city. You love that city. You want to turn it around. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Will you endorse me in the New York Post?
I mean, I don't do endorsements, but, you know, you'd have my personal support.
Well, we'll play the tape on the air, that's all, because we love you so much. We think so highly of you. We really do. And
feeling is mutual.
I know. Thank you. You're a great writer for the New York Post, and we continue to bring you on here all the time. You're great on Fox News. So keep talking, Karol Markowicz. God bless you.
Thank you, Sid.
Thank you, sweetheart. Okay.
Thank you.
There she is, Karol Markowicz, terrific columnist of the New York Post, and another major endorsement right there, Louis. They're just piling up, aren't they?
Well, it wasn't official. Just don't get
not yet
crazy, okay?
Well, none of it matters until there's one I've got to get. If I get this one endorsement, I'm in, and it's not Danielle. You ready? Gordon Chang.
Well, he's going to support you.
Well, how do you know?
Did you say Gordon Chang?
Yes.
You can ask him tomorrow.
He's coming on tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now, what did the Chinese do?
No, he's actually coming on just to endorse you for mayor.
With all the terrible things going on, Sydney, of course, would you please plug my Twitter first, and then you've got my undying, unwavering support. That would be the most unimaginable terror we could endure.
Gordon G. Chang, that would be, folks. Still to come, John Catsimatidis, Bill O'Reilly, and Miranda Devine. Keep it right here.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I'll tell you a funny story about this song. This is Crazy by Seal, and of course we're surrounded by crazy in this country now. When I was dating Danielle, 1992, before we got married, she knew I loved this song. The first gift, my wife, and she'll be my wife of 34 years this June, bought me this Seal CD, Crazy, the single. How funny. 34 years ago, and he's right, man. We are surrounded by crazy. We saw that again on Saturday night. Bill O'Reilly, Miranda Devine still to come, but sitting with me right now in studio is Mr. Red Apple Media himself, the amazing host of not one but two great shows here at 77 WABC, 5 p.m. every weekday afternoon alongside Rita Cosby. It's Cats and Cosby. And then, of course, his Sunday morning masterpiece, 8 a.m. Cats Round Table. Had a very busy weekend, But before we get to all the fun stuff, I guess, Cats, we got to get right to what happened Saturday night at the White House. And I was worried for a second because I know you're friendly with Trump. I said, John's got to be there, but you weren't there because your schedule was so packed. And now, as it turns out, thank God you weren't there.
Well, I wasn't there because it was Greek Independence Weekend, and I had the busiest weekend ever. I mean, Friday night I had the Brooklyn Tech reunion dinner with my friends. 60 years since graduating Brooklyn Tech.
Wow.
And we had a good thing, a good party at the University Club, a good dinner. And some of those people I haven't seen in 20 years. And it was so nice. It was, your old friends are your best friends. You know that. I think you know that.
Oh, yeah. Well, the ones that are happy for you.
Yeah.
Because some of them, they're a little envious of where you are, where I am. But the ones that are really happy for you, they make you feel great, right?
Sid, I don't give a crap. I'm still there. They want to feel that way. Let them feel that way.
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't matter. I just, I felt good.
How many people were there?
Saturday morning,
well, before we get to Saturday, how many people you think were there?
Well, our graduating class was 1,000.
Wow.
And I think we had about 100 people. And one of the alumni told me that, gee, we're 77 years old, some of them 77, some 78. It says 40% of them might be gone.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
I said,
I know.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God. Then would say, well, maybe, there's going to be a 70th reunion. Maybe we should do it every year or every 5 years now. I mean, and not wait till the 10 years.
Right.
And then Saturday morning, we went back to the high school itself. And I'll tell you, the floors, the doors were the same doors and same floors that were there 60 years ago.
No kidding. And where is that school exactly, John?
Brooklyn Tech, 29 Fort Greene Place in Brooklyn, right by DeKalb Avenue subway I used to take. And that's where Cousin Brucey learned how to do radio. We had our own radio station with the antenna on top of the Brooklyn Tech. And it was something great.
Now, didn't you live in Harlem at that point?
I took the subway.
You did?
For an hour and a half. About 14 years old, 15 years old, and you don't think anything of it. The world has changed.
A lot.
And then we did, what else? We had the Greek Independence. The reason I didn't go to Washington, I was the Grand Marshal for the Greek Independence Day Parade, and they had a big gala on
Sunday.
Saturday
night was the gala, right?
So instead of being at the Correspondence dinner, because I was the Grand Marshal, I had to be there.
Right.
And
but by the way, plus
we had 800 people, and I gave some speech.
Yeah, do we have the audio from John's speech? Can we get some of that audio? I heard it was fantastic, not from John, from somebody else who said John was amazing on Saturday. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Coupled in all of that was also supposed to be a home game for the Staten Island Ferry Hawks, but the weather did not cooperate, so you had to play two games instead yesterday on Sunday, right? So, and all that, you had the gala.
Wait. Not only, I went for the parade in the morning, and we marched up Fifth Avenue. We had our WABC trolley. We had a float. We marched, and then afterwards went all the way to Staten Island.
So you did do that yesterday?
Yes, we did it all. We did it all, just like Bogey and McCall.
Great song. I love that song. That would be Key Largo by the great Bertie Higgins, ladies and gentlemen. Key Largo by the great Bertie Higgins. So you had a very, very, very busy weekend. But just getting back to Saturday night, what was your impression, what you saw? Did you feel as if the gunman got too close? President Trump texted me and he thanked his Secret Service to me on early Sunday morning, but somebody came on the air. Paul Mauro said, well, he's quick to thank his cops, but there's a lot of folks who still feel like this guy got a little too close. What did you think?
Well, I think it's a bad venue. I know it's a different world today than it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And my advice to President Trump, and I texted him that, was
you got to stay away from those kind of venues. You can't have 2,000 rooms. I don't know how many rooms there are upstairs at the Capitol Hilton, and that's the same place that they targeted Ronald Reagan.
He shot him. That's where Hinckley shot him.
Yep. And right now, I think he has to be extra careful, triple extra careful, because he's a target. And some of my intelligence people that I talked to said that so far they sent 3 bozos against him. Next time, they're going to send professionals.
What do you mean they sent? You think this guy was hired by somebody? I think you think so?
I think there's more to this than we know. Look, there's certainly more to this than we know in
Butler. Yes. That one I'll give you. You think that clown that showed up at the golf course was hired by somebody?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't
think so.
No, but that's what they do sometimes, so that that way there's no blame to go.
Yeah.
Because don't forget what happened in Iraq when they pissed off President Bush, and he went in there like what was the old expression? Like Grant went through Richmond.
Yes, he did.
And I think I don't trust, and I said don't trust anybody. And the fact is that he's a target.
Oh yeah,
he's a
there's
target.
no doubt.
And I think he should build that ballroom
because
it's a more secure area.
Yeah.
And I said to him, there's nobody there to replace you. Sid, think about it. Who can replace the courage that this man has?
Nobody. No.
Okay? If you want to keep the free world free. And the speech I gave yesterday at the Saturday night at the gala was that I praised 2 years ago when I introduced Mike Pompeo in Athens. And I said to the Prime Minister and I said to everybody, Greece is for Greeks. Germany is for Germans. France is for French. Italy is for Italians. Do not allow our country to be invaded. And that is important because that's what they're trying to do. And they invaded Germany. They invaded France. And I called out, and they invaded the UK. You know the real reason that King Charles is here? To make peace between the Brits and Washington because of what their prime minister is doing.
Well, Stormer is a mess.
Okay.
But Trump loves King Charles already, though.
It's the real reason.
You think so?
They're friends.
They're friends.
But they're trying to mend offenses. But I said to them on Saturday night, who are you going to trust? You're going to trust the French to protect you?
No.
You're going to trust the Germans to protect you?
No.
I mean, there is no free world without the United States of America. There is no free world without a tough guy like President Trump. What are you going to trust Putin?
No, of course not.
But this is what they're doing.
Yeah,
This is what the French are doing.
Yeah.
This is what the Germans are doing. And that prime minister in Great Britain.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing.
What about Spain?
Spain.
Terrible.
My God.
Terrible.
And I'm disappointed. No, so you know what my attitude was to the Greeks in that room? I said, trust America before you trust some of those people.
Of course.
The French or the Germans or the Italians.
Of course.
Because without the United States of America, there is no free world. There is no free Europe. Because, look what happened, Iran. Are you going to trust them with a nuclear bomb? I mean, President Trump is 110% correct. You can't trust them. Remember, originally said, I'm the one that went on the air and said they're playing the Hamas. They got 14 kids. They go in. The Iranians go in. Whoever the powers that be in Iran at that time. I shouldn't say all the Iranians because the Persians are great people. They go in there and they said to the Hamas, "You have 14 kids. Give us one of them. We'll give you $10,000." and we're going to give you guns.
Guns, yeah.
Go in there and rape
and kill
and plunder.
Yep.
Kill. Do whatever you want to do. But this is what, and you know who gave him the money? We get President Biden by raising the price to $100 a barrel for 48 months while he was president. Okay, because everybody is criticizing Trump. It's up to $90 a barrel for 6 weeks. Okay, and Biden had it for 48 months. I mean, guys, enough is enough with this crap. And the fact is, you know what they did? And then not only did they raise it to $100 a barrel, they allowed the Iranians to go from 300,000 barrels a day, where President Trump had a cap on it, to 3 million barrels a day.
Aye.
We made them super wealthy.
Yeah.
And with Russia, at 10 million barrels a day they make. At $100 a barrel, we made them super wealthy. Russians had nothing to do. They said, "Well, let's go take Ukraine." And President Trump said yesterday the hatred between Zelensky and Putin is
you can't fix it.
You can't mix it.
No.
And I trust Zelensky.
Me too. I can't.
I don't think he's a legitimate guy.
Either do I. Okay? I know Peter King gets mad at us, but
no, let him get mad all he wants.
Yeah, I don't like him either.
But the fact is that he's not a legitimate guy.
John, that's one of the most crooked. That's one of the most crooked countries in the world.
But all of those that say lay off Iran, yes, President Trump does not want to plunder Iran, but he's got to get rid of the current management of Iran.
That's it.
Because if they gave those people in Hamas all the weapons to go in there and plunder,
not just Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, all of them.
But why they would do that same thing with the nuclear weapons?
Of course. What sane person's going to argue that? I don't get it either.
And look, I had a lot of friends from Brooklyn Tech, and a lot of them are on the liberal side, which is fine. I get along with everybody.
Yeah. You're better than me.
Yes, I am. But look, I think there should be correspondence. There should be communications with everybody. If
they're honest, that's great. But they're not honest.
But they're saying that we should give Iran a break.
No, we shouldn't. No.
You can't.
You know, I don't feel that way.
You got to get rid of the people.
The regime's got to go.
The regime,
that's right. You got to make sure there's no more uranium being enriched, and you got to make sure the Strait is open. One more for you. Now you have a better relationship with this guy than I do. I hate him. Okay.
Who?
The mayor. You actually met with the guy. For me, when I see King Charles being escorted by Mamdani to the Freedom Tower on Wednesday, to the 9/11 Museum, I may vomit all over myself. What do you think about King Charles coming to New York this Wednesday to visit the museum with Mamdani, and even coming back on 9/11 to commemorate that day with the mayor?
There's two events on Wednesday with King Charles. I've been invited to both of them. I'm not sure I'm going to go.
Oh, go! You gotta go.
Listen, I gotta do my 5:00 show. I mean, they want you there an hour ahead of time. I'm gonna go there and sit down for an hour ahead of time.
Why don't you
That's
just
not
go?
Me.
Why don't you just go to the State Department dinner at the White House tomorrow night?
I'm not invited to that.
Oh, yes, you are.
I'm not invited.
John, one text.
Yeah,
President Trump.
I don't want to ask.
Okay.
I don't want to ask.
Yeah.
I don't want to. My daughter is going to the congressional hearings.
She is.
Yeah, but
King Charles is going to address.
The joint session.
AJ's going to both?
Yes.
That's all. Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her.
But look, the sun is shining.
Yeah.
And let's save New York. That's it. Let's save New York. Let's save New York State. And we love New York. You know, I go to Florida. It's great. I love Florida.
Yeah.
But 4 days later, I want to come back.
Same way.
And
I'm with you.
I go to the Hamptons. 3 days later, I want to come back.
I know. It gets in your blood, this place. It's a weird thing. It gets in your blood, right?
It's the greatest city in the world. And when I did meet with Mondami and I met with his deputy mayor, Julie Sue, I said to her, look, if I can help in any way, I want to help. But, and all I'm saying is let's see what happens. You know the question I'm asking? I'm going to tell you the question I'm asking. Let's see what the actions are versus him possibly playing the violin to his own people.
Yeah.
You ever hear the old expression? The Jews, the Greeks, the Italians, we're all one people.
Yes.
They're playing the violin to your own thing. And then let's see what he really does.
Well, or what he can do.
What he can
Because he's a lot of power here. You know that. City Council Julie Menin is going to be the one, and maybe even Hochul, to keep him in check. We'll see.
Well, it's up to Hochul, and she's got a big election. And people, Blakeman has a great shot.
Yes, he does.
But he has to communicate that what he's going to do, and especially that sergeant, the pardon for that sergeant.
Eric Duran.
100%. I mean, I think whoever's governor has to pardon that sergeant. This was wrong, a wrong conviction.
Couldn't agree more.
And Jay Clayton, the U.S. attorney, coordinating the federal forces down here, the FBI and all the other DEA, as a coordination. And why murders are down and everything? First, we got rid of a lot of migrants.
Right.
The criminals.
That was Tom Homan,
Yeah.
President Trump, and
Yes.
at the time, Kristi Noem.
Okay.
Right.
And I think the federal government is overseeing it through Jay Clayton, overseeing what's going on in New York. And if the New York City or New York State won't prosecute, he'll prosecute.
I agree. Jessica Tisch, too. Amazing appearance as always. I know you had a great weekend, so I know it's back to work.
The sun is shining. Look outside. The
I know, it's
sun is
gorgeous.
shining.
I know. Well,
and you know what happened with the Greek parade?
What?
It was raining on Saturday. It was raining. Everybody said, "No, it's the end of the world." But as we were getting ready to march, the sun came out.
God loves the Greeks, just like it never rains on Yom Kippur. Never. It's always sunny.
Never.
I've noticed that. Good to see you. I love you, John. Great job. Thank you so much.
Break a leg.
Thank you. I will. John Catsimatidis. Check him out later on this afternoon at 5 o'clock. Him and Rita Cosby, the great Cats and Cosby Show. And, of course, 8 a.m. every Sunday morning. It's the Cats Round Table. We did speak to New York Post columnist Karol Markowicz earlier. Another great lady columnist, Miranda Devine, is coming up next. And we'll talk to Bill O'Reilly next hour. A lot more to come. Monday edition. Sid and Friends in the morning.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right, 9 o'clock on your Monday morning. I've got two great men in the studio right now, John Catsimatidis and Chad Lopez. And I'll see you guys later on today. I've got Miranda Devine, the amazing New York Post columnist. And I love watching Miranda's Twitter, too. She's got a great Twitter. And she has often, actually, said nice things about my Twitter. I go nuts. I curse. I get crazy. I destroy the Democrats on my Twitter, I think, like nobody else. I'm really vicious, but tough. You know, people keep asking the question like Peter Doocy did to President Trump on Saturday night. Why does this keep happening to you? And it's one word, Democrats, right? He talked about Trump being consequential. That's true, very. Maybe the most. He talked about other people, Abe Lincoln, John Kennedy. All that's true. They don't go after you if you're vanilla or you're milk toast. They don't care. It's like this business. The reason why I'm so popular is because as many people hate me as they do love me. That's the way you want it. If they just love you, you're going nowhere. And if they just hate you, you're going nowhere. You want a nice little balance, and that's what Trump has. People like me that adore him, and people like Cole Allen that want him dead. But the one word, it's a one-word answer. Why does this keep happening to you, President Trump? The word is Democrats. Something tells me Miranda Devine is going to agree. What do you think, Miranda?
You're absolutely right, Sid. And I think your tweet that you put up straight after the attack or the foiled attack is spot on. You said they will keep trying as long as the left keeps lying.
Very good.
And
Thank you.
That's the truth.
Thank you.
You read the manifesto of this idiot, Cole Allen, and he's a teacher, of course, brainwashing other kids, but he himself has been brainwashed by these are standard Democrat talking points. They call Donald Trump a pedophile, a rapist, a traitor, the Antichrist, Hitler, Nazi, you name it. Every bad word that you can think of, they apply to Donald Trump. And the more he succeeds, the more crazy they get. And these are not just fringe leftists. This has now crept into mainstream thinking, and the way I can prove that is that now there are Democrat candidates just falling over themselves to be pictured on a stage or appearing with Hassan Piker.
Hard to believe that would be the case. I want to play this for you now that you mentioned Hassan Piker. This was on Mark Levin's Twitter last night. It's only 16 seconds, Miranda. But take a listen to this. This is the guy that the mayor of New York, Mamdani, buddies up to. Mamdani defends this guy as much as he defends Mahmoud Khalil or Nordine Kiswani, all these terrible anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-Jew haters. This is Hassan Piker, a short montage, 16 seconds of his hate classics. Cut number 5.
This is so insane. America deserved 9/11, dude. I'm saying it.
I don't have any sort of patriotism in my heart for America, but just in general.
It doesn't matter if rapes happen on October 7th. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much.
Doesn't matter if rapes happened on October 7th. Doesn't change anything for him. America deserved 9/11. As King Charles sets to land in D.C. today, he will be going to the 9/11 memorial with Mamdani on Wednesday. What a disgrace that is. King Charles is also going with Mamdani on 9/11 to commemorate that sacred day with Mamdani. What a disgrace that is. So you're right, Hassan Piker may be the worst of them, but I don't care if it's Hassan Piker or Hakeem Jeffries. They're all bad.
They're all bad. There's no discernment anymore. And you look at John Fetterman. He is the only sensible Democrat left.
Bang.
And he is what the Democrats used to be. He's an old school Democrat before it got taken over by the mad left. And he comes out the other night immediately and he says, will his party just drop the TDS, drop the Trump derangement syndrome, and let Donald Trump build his ballroom?
That's what he said?
Because, of course, the ballroom, yes, the ballroom is secure, as Donald Trump told us.
Right.
It will have, bulletproof glass. It'll be drone-proof. It has he's now revealed that it will have a bunker underground that the military want. There's already one in the White House, but it's old. It's not fit for today's purpose. So the reason the ballroom is taking longer and has to be, quite drastic is because they're going down so many floors below ground. And that is why the ballroom is so necessary. And, you have to have a large venue for exactly situations like that at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I was there. It's a huge room, and it was utter pandemonium. And the thing that exacerbated the problem inside after, the gunman was apprehended and the Secret Service was rampaging through because they thought there might be multiple gunmen. There was no cell phone service, or very difficult to get cell phone service in there. So you're trapped in this huge room with God knows what happening outside, and you can't even get the cell phone access.
It's interesting because I know you were in there. That's part of the reason why you're on today. I love you anyway, Miranda. You know that. You're great. But I did speak to Brian Kilmeade early this morning in the 6 a.m. hour. He was there. He actually said that it wasn't as chaotic as you might imagine. Bill O'Reilly's going to join me in about 30 minutes. He was also there. But I could tell you that my friend Harmeet Dillon, who happens to run the Civil Rights Department of the DOJ, Todd Blanche's assistant, she got kicked in the face by one of the Secret Service guys jumping on a table and actually ended up with a laceration and a cut under her eye. So depending upon who you talk to, I got varying stories about whether it was chaotic or not, but you're going with it was very chaotic, yes?
100%. I mean, you can't say it wasn't chaotic. What I would say is I wasn't scared, but I think it was because the adrenaline's going. And also it was just so confusing because at one minute we've got the the honor guard marching up the aisle and presenting to Donald Trump and everyone standing to do the national anthem. We've just sat down and suddenly it just felt like crockery was breaking down the back.
Did you hear did you hear the gunshots? There were at least 5, maybe 10.
No, I heard it was 8, but no, we didn't hear any gunshots where I was. We were up the front. People down the back did hear them. They told me they heard them. So, and I think some of the, cameras picked that up, but they were at the back. No, we heard nothing except crockery breaking, and it wasn't even enough to even turn your head because you just think, a waiter's just dropped a tray of plates or glasses.
Right.
And then suddenly, you sort of hear the doors fling open and stampeding and people, tables were flipping over, more crockery. And so you're turning around. And then I looked around, everyone's like down under there. I think Americans are used to that sort of duck cover, get to the ground, maybe from school shootings at school or something, but I certainly wasn't. The first time I've had to do that. So, everyone's sort of on the ground, sort of trying to get low, and everyone at my table was. So that was pretty chaotic. And then the Secret Service guys, I was right by the aisle, and they're running up, they're heavily armed guys, and they immediately surrounded President Trump on stage. You saw the photo, I'm sure, of the Secret Service agent with his body blocking the president. Yeah. They were magnificent in the moment.
In the moment, right.
But the security was so lax, and it's just because it was not designated as a kind of special national security event, which it should have been in the middle of war when you've got the president and the vice president within feet of each other up on stage, plus you had almost the entire cabinet, apart from Howard Lutnick, who was at another event, and Chuck Grassley in the line of succession. All of those people, if it had been multiple gunmen, God forbid, if there had been suicide bombers, you could have wiped out the entire line of succession. You would have had Chuck Grassley, 92-year-old Chuck Grassley, as president. Wow. So it doesn't bear thinking about, but I think it was a big mistake to have all those people amassed in one room without really stringent security.
It's almost impossible, though, let's be honest, to have that type of security in a hotel. I mean, the hotel's there. There's thousands and thousands. I heard Rachel Campos yesterday on Fox say, they should have checked every room. Come on. Let's have an honest conversation. That's silly. So maybe moving forward, you don't put it in a venue where you've got 5,000 or 10,000 hotel rooms. Right.
You put it in the ballroom.
Put it in the ballroom. Right. Yeah. Nice and easy. Yeah, they'll be nice and easy. What struck me, Miranda Devine, was 2 people in particular. One whose father was murdered in a shooting in a hotel, and one whose husband was murdered in plain sight at a college. So to me, I took a good look on the videos of Bobby Kennedy and Erica Kirk leaving Saturday night. Did you happen to see one of them or both of them?
No, I didn't actually. I saw Bobby Kennedy behind me, but I didn't see what he was doing. I saw in the photos afterwards he was sitting pretty upright, looking very grave. I didn't see Erica Kirk because she was on the other side, but I did see her images being led out, and she was weeping. It's terribly traumatic. It was just not very long ago that her own husband was murdered in public, in cold blood, by an assassin. And she's had to live with that trauma ever since. And the video of his death just doing the rounds, and people gleeful about it, and people lying about her. And so it's incredibly traumatic for her to come there and it happening all over again. She said, I just want to go home.
Yes, she did.
She's got little children at home. She doesn't want them orphaned.
No. A lot of people have talked about this unity. Maria Bartiromo talked about it a lot yesterday with every guest. And I know you wrote this story, Dems must heed Trump's call for unity in the wake of frightening shooting. Resolve our differences. I know he said that. I love the man. He actually found time to text me yesterday morning. Believe it or not, President Trump sent me a nice text. I said, how you doing? Sorry. He said, thanks, Sid. A rough evening. Secret Service did a great job. President DJT, which is always an honor when the president texts me, especially on a chaotic morning like that. But, resolving our differences, Miranda, I don't want to anymore. Like, I don't. I'm sorry, because it's not going to happen. It's never going to be genuine. I saw all the tweets yesterday, AOC, even Mamdani. I know he's had 2 nice meetings with the president at the White House, but he doesn't care about him. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries. These people don't care. They don't care. So why go through the motions? Why act as if we care? I don't care whether they like him or not. I don't want him to shoot him. You know, we went so crazy yesterday because one rep out of California, Maria Perez, happens to be a Democrat, said, will you please stop trying to murder the president? It was on Fox News about 100 times yesterday. Who cares? Honestly, at this point, I don't care. I don't like them. I don't trust them. And they'll be right back at their same old garbage tomorrow. That's the Democrats. We don't need unity. We need a sane America. That's my position.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because the chance that the Democrats are going to drop their Trump demonization when it's working so well for them, they are so confident that they're going to blitzkrieg the November midterms. They are positive that they're going to get back the House, maybe even the Senate. They're planning what they're going to do with their power, and it's all retaliation. It's nothing about what's good for the country. It's all impeach Trump. It's all do witch hunts against Trump's administration. It's all just what they're doing even now, and they don't. The people did not give them power in Washington. They are doing everything they can to throw sand in the gears of this government, with the shutdowns, with the constant lawfare, with the maligning and the demonization, and the unhinged rants. You know, I don't understand. Like, it's not as if the Trump administration is really making good headway on some of the things we wish it would in terms of accountability for past wrongdoing. I don't see John Brennan and James Comey in jail. You know, none of that has happened. You know, they're trying to do it, but it's so difficult. They're not unscrupulous like the Democrats. Like the Democrats who came after Donald Trump, all guns blazing, state, federal, Jack Smith, you name it. Every judge, rigged juries in Washington, D.C., they came after Trump and his supporters so overwhelmingly. And yet, you know, our side does a little bit, tries, and Democrats are screaming like stuck pigs as if something terrible has happened to them. So no, they're not going to change their stripes before the midterms, because they see this as a winner for them, and they'll do it again in 28, and they'll keep on doing it unless the American public wakes up and punches them in the nose. Don't let them get back power. Do what you did to them in 2024 when Donald Trump won against all odds. They had a little bit of soul searching after that for, you know, selfish reasons, and then they just went back to their old playbook. So I think if they lose at the midterms, lose again in 28, I think that will be a call for reform in that party. They will toss out the lefties and try and go back to grassroots, what the public really wants, instead of pretending, putting up candidates like Joe Biden and Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill, pretending they're moderates when they're really wolves in sheep's clothing.
Well said. Lunatics. All lunatics. I like yours better, though. Wolves in sheep clothing. I can't help myself. I talk like I'm from Brooklyn, even on Twitter. But you're the best. Thank you. I'm glad you're okay. I was worried about you and Brian and Bill and all my friends on Saturday night. So, like you said, it could have been a heck of a lot worse if it really had people planning that knew what they were doing. This guy's a fool, let's be honest. People are trying to sell me that he was hired. He wasn't hired, this moron. This guy's a teacher in California, and he hated Trump, and he had a ridiculous plan. He's been able to run past everybody and eventually shoot the president or his team. It was just silly. But that doesn't mean there aren't evil people that work every day trying to figure out something a lot more dangerous. So I would worry about that. Miranda, I love you. Excellent job. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Sid. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Miranda Devine right there, the amazing columnist of the New York Post. She's got a really good podcast, too. And I recommend you follow her on Twitter as well. She's terrific. We'll take a break. Naomi's got the news, got the weather, you got the sports, all of it. And still to come, the greatest of all, Bill O'Reilly. Monday morning, Sid and Friends in the morning. Like this song. Come on. Come on, Ellie.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's a good song for today. Talking about bad boys. That lowlife guy Rivera who murdered Jonathan Diller, the Diller killer, I guess they call him. I don't know. I'm not in the mood for cute sayings when it comes to John Diller, but at any rate, this guy that somehow was not found guilty of murder won because the New York courts are a disgrace. A complete disgrace. I mean, whether it's Guy Mitchell giving Eric Duran 3 to 9 years, or this judge or jury that said that, jury, I should say, that he's not guilty of murder won, but he'll be in court today for sentencing this guy Rivera, this lowlife punk. And I guess the maximum he can get is 90 years, so let's hope he gets that. Now, if he gets 90 years, that doesn't mean he's going to serve 90 years. You know that. And in Andrew Cuomo and Kathy Hochul's New York, cop killers are set free all the time. About 50 of them. 50. Herman Bell is a popular name, but there's many more than that. Bo Dietl talks about that all the time. He'll be on tomorrow, but so do I. In Andrew Cuomo and Kathy Hochul's New York, cop killers are welcome. So he may get 90 today, but he won't serve 90. But he may not even get 90 today. I don't know what to expect. What do you think, Noam?
I don't know, but they have to pour it on because he's only 36 years old. We don't want this guy to ever see the light of day.
We don't, but these judges don't seem to care. You got 45 cop killers out there right now. Out, free.
Well, that's outrageous. And so 90 years, yeah, he won't survive 90 years. But you're right. He will be up for parole at some point.
Right. And these parole boards that Andrew Cuomo, I guess, is behind, it's his fault. They let him out all the time. I just got a really nice text from Miranda Devine. She said, Sid, this is exactly what you were saying. Great to chat with you. She sent me a tweet. Sageza Eterna, I don't know who that is, at Final Telegraph. And it reads, every Democrat wants you dead, every one. Every single one of them harbors this desire. They leave the physical act of pulling the trigger to others. The moment the bullet finds its mark, the masks drop and the celebration begins for the common good to protect our democracy. These are the same blood-soaked incantations they have recited since 2016. They will claim violence has no place in our politics while immediately pivoting to label MAGA as the real threat. The translation is clear. Your death is an unfortunate necessity demanded by the Republic. Do I not say this all the time? This represents the logical endpoint of a decade-long campaign of demonization. They call Trump Hitler. They label MAGA, including me, a cult. They equate border enforcement with racism and election skepticism with insurrection. Every institution they control, from the media and academia to the DOJ and big tech, has spent years programming their followers to view conservatives, I guess me, strictly as vermin. When the vermin start dying, the faithful refuse to mourn. They meme, they ratio, they trend phrases like one down, millions to go, which is exactly what I say all the time. How many guests, Lou, have I said to this morning, from Ron Johnson to Miranda Devine to 2 or 3 others? I don't want unity. I don't care. They're liars. They don't care. I answered every one of those tweets yesterday. Go back and look. I said, oh, shut up, to Bernie Sanders, to AOC, to Mom Donnie, to Newsom, because that killer, of course, came from his home state of California. I must have sent out 10 of them, maybe 20. Hakeem Jeffries, another liar. They don't care. They lie. They hate us. They hate President Trump. They hate Sid Rosenberg. I don't want them to be friends. I don't want to unite. I want to beat them. That's all I want to do. I want to beat Democrats. I don't want to be their friends. No, thank you. There's one I like. One, he's not even a Democrat. It's John Fetterman. He's a Republican. It's silly that he's even a Democrat at this point. He should just switch parties. Kind of like when President Trump calls Chuck Schumer a Palestinian. That's John Fetterman. He's a Republican. Otherwise, I can't name one, not one, that I like. Not one. Can you know one?
Outside Fetterman, no.
Yeah. So let's stop with we got to unite. They don't want to. And you know what? I don't want to either. F them. F them. Just beat them. Okay? Let's get really good candidates. Enough of the garbage that we've had for Republicans, for positions in this city, in this state. Thank God for Bruce Blakeman. To around the country. Let's find the right candidates and let's just beat them, okay? Keep the House, keep the Senate, and make sure that Rubio or somebody like that wins again in 28. Or wins, I should say, because Trump would have to win again. He can't run. You know my point. They're no good. They are no good. Bill O'Reilly, still to come.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The so-called manifesto is a stunning thing to read, Mr. President. He appears to reference a motive in it. He writes this, quote, administration officials, they are targets. And he also wrote this, I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people, horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
Do you think he was referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person. I got associated with all stuff that has nothing to do with me. I was totally exonerated. Your friends on the other side of the plate are the ones that were involved with, let's say, Epstein or other things. But I said to myself, I'll do this interview and they'll probably, I read the manifesto, he's a sick person, but you should be ashamed of yourself reading that because I'm not any of those things.
Mr. President,
and
these
I was
are
never,
the gunman's words.
Excuse me. You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace.
Oh my God. You're a disgrace. Talking about Mauro O'Donnell. I did see that Anna Navarro, another disgrace, on The View with those repulsive hags, says that she can see why people would jump to conclusions that maybe the whole thing was staged because Trump lies. That's what Anna Navarro said. Mia Farrow, the actress that was married to Woody Allen, I guess, she said the same thing. I mean, we're surrounded by sick people. Very sick. But I wanted to make sure today, the first day back, I put on as many people as possible who were there inside, smart people inside. So I had Brian Kilmeade on early, then Miranda Devine, and as Vanessa Williams once sang, I saved the best for last. He's on every Thursday, but my dear friend Bill O'Reilly sent me a picture last night with his son Spencer, who's a very handsome young man. A beautiful picture. So, Bill, let me start by saying thank God you and Spencer are okay. Thank you for hopping on. It'll be twice this week. Thank you for hopping on this morning. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. Spencer's line to me was, hey, Dad, I didn't know you were taking me to basic training.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably seen that way. Brian Kilmeade told me earlier this morning that he was surprised it wasn't more chaotic. And Miranda Devine told me moments ago that it was incredibly chaotic. What was the experience for the O'Reillys?
Well, I was in the back of the room where people enter from an escalator that takes you from the main part of the hotel down to the ballroom. And I just happened to be standing there, and I heard these four pops, and they were loud.
So you heard the gunshots?
Yeah.
Because people at the front of the room, like Kilmeade and Devine, who were sitting by the dais, they didn't hear any of that stuff.
Right. And everybody dove to the floor. In fact, I looked under the table. I said, how is it down there, Spence?
Wow.
But, I'm a journalist. I got to see the story. I can't be
right
on the carpet.
Right.
So the first thing I did was turn toward the gunfire. I didn't know where it was coming from. And then I saw the Secret Service guys rush down the aisle. Then I knew what was happening. And there was a marshal by the door who was a fan of mine, and that always helps. And he had an earpiece in. I said, what the deuce is going on? And he goes, well, there's some Guy upstairs, they've neutralized him, but he got off some shots. And he wasn't close to the dais. He couldn't have gotten down there under any circumstances. And so I picked up the story from there. I watched as president was evacuated, and then a lot of people were on the floor, and just took it all in. But I still, to this moment, can't find out who shot. I know that the perpetrator shot a Secret Service guy in the vest, but usually after that, Sid, you're dead within a minute, within 30 ticks of the clock. I mean, you shoot a Secret Service agent, you got 5 guns on you, you're dead. So something happened that this guy didn't get killed by the service, which was up in the lobby where he was. And I don't know what it is. I'll find out.
Yeah, that is the big question. My buddy Johnny Tobacco, who hosts Wise Guys on Newsmax, sent out this tweet moments ago, and he said, I don't care if it's Sammy the Bull Gravano or if it's Bo Dietl. You know, there were 8 shots, supposedly, 8, and most of those came from Secret Service men. They were right in front of this guy. It wasn't like they were, you know, a couple of 100 yards away, right in front. How is it possible that this guy, after shooting one of them, actually survived? How?
That's a big question, and I don't know. I heard 4 shots, and so I don't know how many shots were fired or by whom, but that'll come out. That information will come out maybe today.
Yeah, well, I want to ask you about the Secret Service overall, because I sent this to you last night, that I texted President Trump at 7:19 a.m. yesterday morning. It's like I texted you, Bill. I said, I'm glad you're okay, but sad and sickened that you continue to go through this. So sorry. But the majority of us love and appreciate you. Bottom line, stay strong, my friend. 3 minutes later, 7:22 a.m., I received a text back from the President of the United States. He said, thanks, Sid. A rough evening. Secret Service did a great job. President DJT. So I asked Paul Mauro earlier. You know, Paul, terrific guy, 22-year cop in New York, now on Fox News. I said, all this criticism all morning long yesterday, Rachel Campos, Lawrence Jones, about the Secret Service, yet President Trump was quick in his text to me to thank them. And he said, well, listen, the president's always going to thank the cops. That's just his gut reaction. I mean, he may be right, because most people I speak to can't figure out, even though the guy was not in the room or close to the dais, how he got as far as he did. What are your thoughts?
Well, it wasn't hard to do that because the guy was staying in the hotel. So you have a hotel full of people, including him, in a room, and he took a train cross country, so he had his ordnance with him. And all you got to do is walk out your door, walk down the stairs, and there's a Secret Service. So I don't have any beef with the Secret Service or the marshals or even the local D.C. cops. I think they were stationed where they should have been stationed. Again, that guy could not have gotten near the President of the United States.
Right.
There's no way he could have.
No way. It was a stupid plan, even, to think he's going to run. I know he runs pretty fast. The president even said he should be in the NFL. He's a very fast runner, but to think he's going to run past every one of those agents, even if he got to the door, there were more there, was a silly plan for a guy that everybody called such a genius. But what are your thoughts about holding events in venues like that?
I wouldn't do that again.
Yeah.
It was too easy to get in there without scrutiny because there were just so many people mingling in the lobby. There had to be 1,000 people there. I mean, it was crazy, and they had all of the standard tech set up, but it's just too many people.
By the way, you say 1,000 people. The actual number inside the room, ready for this? Double, 2,100.
Yeah, and that is added to all the people in the hotel.
Wow.
So it was huge. And when we went in there, I had to stand there and get my picture taken and all that in front of the Correspondent's banner. But I noticed there were a lot of ebb and flow, a lot of people walking around. And then there are only a few bathrooms in the place. And then, everybody's getting up and going there. And there were lines outside there. It was not containable.
We're lucky.
So
we're lucky. I mean, imagine if this guy walked in there and was, I don't know, like the guys in the Middle East, strapped to a vest or had a bomb with them or a machine gun was able to get through. You know, we're lucky. Nobody died. And
yeah, that could have only happened outside. That could not have happened inside. Because there were so many logistics that you had to go through to get down to the ballroom itself.
Right. So that was pretty well. So that was pretty well protected. You're saying. At any point, Bill, were you or even Spencer, were you guys nervous? I don't want to say scared, but maybe.
Look, I've been doing this 50 years, so I've been in a lot of precarious positions. But, my son has never been in a position like this. And he looked at me, he goes, you're the first one they'd shoot because I'm standing there 6'4". Man. I didn't hit the ground. And I said, Spencer, it's my job. I mean, I have to find out what's happening here. I can't be, running and hiding. It's not what I do. So he understood it. And I understood the people who were down on the floor. I mean, if you're a civilian and you're hearing gunshots, and they were loud. If you're in the back part of that ballroom, you heard those distinctly. Up front, they didn't, as Miranda said. But boy, where I was, you could hear those things very, very clearly.
Wow. Interesting. So, what do you think happens moving forward? Do you think this now gets the ballroom done at the White House? Do you think, this is silly, but people are talking about it, do you think that Democrats now will be more inspired to get a deal done and fund the DHS when you consider that those same Secret Service guys, Bill, that saved the president, and many of you, all of you on Saturday night, have not been paid in 72 days? Do you expect anything concrete and practical to come of this?
Yes, I do. I think that'll turn the tide as far as that kind of legislation is concerned, and they'll get paid. But I don't expect the Democratic Party to stop, or the president to stop the verbal warfare. I think that'll go on until the president leaves office. And you just played the clip with Norah O'Donnell. Norah O'Donnell never should have run that. Never should have done that. That's way beyond any journalism. That is gutter snipe stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I agree with you, but somebody did say to me this morning, but wait a second. And I agree with you 100%. That was lousy. It was sophomoric. It was gutter snipe. And I'm glad President Trump reacted the way he did. But just to play devil's advocate, Bill, you're a great journalist. I'm not. If that was in the manifesto, I should say, isn't that fair game?
No, because it's not verified.
That it's in the manifesto?
In the manifesto,
right.
All she had to do was say, the guy said terrible things about you.
Right.
That haven't been verified, but he obviously hates you. What do you think about that?
Right.
She shouldn't have to go down the litany of it.
Agree.
She only did that to embarrass him.
Yep. It's true.
That's the only reason she did it, and to be, I guess, a tough gal.
Why he keeps doing those?
Journalists don't do that.
Yeah.
It's a fact-based industry. You don't take some kind of gossip or acquittal and ram it down somebody's throat.
Wait a second. You're going to want to go over what you just said. You said journalists don't do that. No, that's not true. That used to be the case. Now that's all they do. That's all they do.
That's true, but I'm still an old-school guy.
Yeah. There's only one of you.
I hear this stuff, and I go, that's ridiculous.
You get mad.
And they edited it. They have to use that. Is there no one at CBS News who knows anything about
it's funny you say that because I actually thought Barry Weiss has been doing a good job. I thought you would stop stuff like this.
Well, she needs to explain why she allowed that in.
I agree with you. I totally agree. I'd have her on BillO'Reilly.com tonight because I keep touting her. I swear to you, even at a Holocaust Museum meeting, I said, we got hope, we got Barry Weiss. How did she allow that nonsense last night?
I don't know. I mean, she's not going up against me.
Right.
All right? Not going to do that.
Nope.
So, Americans need to know when they're being conned.
Yeah.
And this was self-aggrandizement for Norah O'Donnell, who I know, and I don't have any beef against Norah O'Donnell.
She stinks.
I mean, but you don't do that. That's not fair.
Right.
It's not right to do it.
Nope.
And so Trump was absolutely right in calling her out on it.
It was fantastic television, I got to tell you. Well, listen, thank you for doing this today. I really wanted to talk to you most of all, and you're great, as you always are. And I'm glad you and Spencer are okay. And I'm going to see you tomorrow afternoon in New York City, which I'm very excited about, very. And we're still on for the 15th with Steve Cohen and the Mets. So
Yeah, and I don't know if Mendoza's going to be there, that's for sure. But I want people to go to BillO'Reilly.com. We'll have all the very latest on it, some photos and everything like that, and that's your source. If you really want honest information, BillO'Reilly.com that's where we have it. And so we hope people go there. Thanks for having me on, and appreciate it, Sid.
I love you. I'll see you tomorrow afternoon, okay, pal?
Okay.
Thank God you're safe. Bill O'Reilly, the best, right there. And yes, go to BillO'Reilly.com. Check out his No Spin News later on tonight. He was in that room. I think we did a very good job today, gentlemen. I got a lot of texts from people. What a great show. What a great show. We had a bunch of people that were there. It's one thing to comment from another place, but when people were in there watching tables overturned, my friend Harmeet Dillon was trying to come on this morning. She didn't get the okay. But at one point, one of the Secret Service guys hopped on her table. He may have kicked her or something by accident. Ended up with a laceration, a cut, maybe even a black eye. So I spoke to her last night. I wanted to talk to as many people. I spoke to the president. I wanted to speak to as many people as possible to get a real feel as to what's going on. And I think we provided that for our listeners here today. So we're done, Louis. Excellent job, as always. The great Lou Ruffino. Justin Ellick, you too. Of course, Noam Layden, terrific. John Terrett, good seeing you this morning. As our dear friend Gene would say, God willing, we'll all be back for a big Tuesday show tomorrow. I am efforting some big guests. Big guests. I'll let you know later. As for today, enjoy your 66-degree sunny Monday in New York City. From all of us on Sid and Friends in the Morning, long live President Trump. Long live President Trump. God bless America. Peace.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?